54 minutes and counting. And Square says it is okay to rebroadcast, so we're fine on that front. I'm not going to end up banned or anything. That's always good. So are they going? Here's one for you, Adam. Are they going to? Because they do show merch during these things sometimes.
Okay.
In the if there was live events, right? They go through they do a merch store preview and all that stuff. Are we going to kind of get the Final Fantasy XIV dual decks revealed a little bit? Because those come out this month, and we still have zero idea of any of the actual card text that goes on those starter cards.
I saw someone mention that on Twitter, and it's interesting. I hope they do. I really do.
I hope they do.
That
too.
would be sweet.
Somebody asked it in the one of the Final Fantasy groups, and I replied, I don't know. I hope they do, but Adam Lane and and put it all in there with links and all that.
My worry
Gregory
is
Cole
that,
was like, I'll be there. I love that show. So Greg Cole likes our show.
My worry is that might have been part of the 14-hour deal.
Yeah, I could very much see that.
And that it might not make it the cut for what they're going to announce today.
Well, so on the what to expect from today, Yoshi P did do an interview with Gamer Escape, and most of it was about 5.3, 5.4 questions about story. Some of it, if we were doing a regular show, we definitely would have talked about it. Some of it was interesting because they were asking questions like, how far in advance was 5.3 written, where the Warrior of Light, is on the council, all that stuff. And most of that stuff was put together as 5.0 was launching. So they're usually 4 patches ahead on the finalized story of what they're going to do. So that stuff was interesting. But the last question on there was, hey, is the announcement showcase, something we've debated on the show, is the announcement showcase meant to replace all 3 fan festivals? Can we are we going to be able to expect a ton of information? And while he did say, hey, we have that event in May, he also said, I think it would be fine for you to expect an awful lot of information. Okay. So that was his reply was, well, we do have that thing in May, so we're not going to give everything away, but it would be fair for you to expect a lot of information in the announcement showcase.
I love him so much, but I hate him at the same time.
Right. Right.
What's up, gentlemen?
Hey, what's up, sir? We got little less than 51 minutes now.
Oh, Lord.
We're live with chat as well.
Where are we feeding this from? Because I don't want echo in my headset.
I'm taking it from YouTube.
Just Square Enix?
It's the Final Fantasy XIV YouTube page. That's the YouTube they're doing it on, and then Nico and whatever. I forget the third place. Everybody got their snacks ready? All that stuff?
I ate right before this, so I should be good.
I had dinner a little while ago, but I do have some snacks on the way. Maybe some gummy bears to partake of. I don't often eat chips or candies or anything, but we'll make an exception for tonight.
Keto friendly.
Oh, you're doing keto?
Yeah. 12 pounds as of this morning.
One of my raid members is doing that too. All he does is complain about he can't eat bread. I'm like,
I miss pasta. Oh.
That's what I had. I had some shrimp, grilled shrimp and chicken pasta.
Yeah, dude, I had chicken pasta. It was amazing. I love bread too much, dude. I can't do keto.
All right, so we did a lot of main predictions, but let's kind of lock these ones in now. Are we going to hear about a release date for PS5 version of the game?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too. I think that one's a 100% lock that we get at least a release date. If not, hey, surprise, it's available now. I could definitely see them doing something like that too. How about Xbox? Am I the only one that still thinks we're going to get an Xbox announcement here?
I'm gonna go with no, but
You're sticking
it'd
to
be
your
cool if they
guns.
announced it. I'm gonna say no.
Sticking to your.
I'm gonna go no. I think Microsoft wants to announce that,
Mm,
so that'll be its own separate thing.
I don't think so. I mean, what do they have coming up? They don't have any
E3?
company. No, there's. I mean, I guess they could, sure, if they do like a digital show around the normal time of E3, but then that's also like 4 months away. And I don't think they want to wait any longer. I think it's.
Yeah, I think they would announce it here if they were going to. Honestly, I really do.
Yeah, I think if it's coming out in 2021, they announce it here. If it's not coming out in 2021, then maybe I agree with Tark and it's a mid to Q3 announcement from Microsoft. I just think that the audience that you want to see that's coming out on Xbox is more watching this than watching Xbox's specific presentation at some type of event.
100%. 100%.
I think the target demographic is going to be here. So I'm still going to go with yes. I think we get at least a little. I don't know if that one will get a release date. I wouldn't be surprised if we did, but I'm going to go conservative and think that maybe we don't get the exact date for that one. But I think it is announced. We already talked about classes and stuff on the show. Nobody changed their minds there.
Nope.
Yeah, no last minute mind changes.
No, I'm actually pretty confident. I'm gonna be really excited if they show Chemist though. I've been waiting on that job for a long time. I hope it doesn't suck.
I think you're going to get it. Email just came in. Final Fantasy XIV showcase starting soon. YouTube, Twitch. Yeah, we all probably want to be watching the same one, by the way, just in case
Yeah,
there's
can you
some
send me the link
lag.
to your waiting?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know the Twitch link, but I don't know the YouTube one.
It is in chat on Ready Check Radio.
Got it.
Can you put that in chat just directly to me? Because I'm going to do it on my phone. So I don't have echo.
I put it in chat.
In Discord?
I got you.
Oh, in Discord. Yeah, okay. You just said in chat. I was like, I put it in chat. What are you talking about?
The other chat.
I got you.
Gotcha. Thank you, bro.
I can't believe we're finally here. I feel like we've been talking about it forever. Because we pretty much have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Still going with Forspoken. I don't think I think that's
I've actually the more I've thought about it, I think it's probably what it's gonna be. I just feel like at this point we would have heard something else.
Yeah, well, they do have the other one. What is it? The Heroes something. But I think that's got to be like for a mobile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
the Heroes Bonds. That's what it is. The Heroes Bonds.
Yeah,
and that doesn't sound right.
Forspoken's way better. Yeah. I just feel like all the other ones we heard beforehand, right? Like I feel like Stormblood was one, Shadowbringers was definitely we heard before.
Heaven's Word we heard before too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just unless somehow they're just like a lot more closed lip this time, and I don't know. Like the more I thought about it, I think it has to be Forspoken.
Yeah, the problem with the titles and stuff like that is the trademarking. Yeah, you could be as quiet as you want internally, but we know that they're there. It's just a question of which goes with which project.
Right.
Yep.
And when you look at all of the ones we've seen over the last few months, it's kind of like, yeah, well, I mean, Forspoken has to be it, Right? I mean,
And you're not gonna risk not trademarking that.
right.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait. What's up, Dave?
What's up, Dave?
Yeah, I still think we have it's not going to be around its normal release time though. I still
Yeah.
tend to believe that we're looking at a September.
I agree too.
I concur.
I don't even know if they're gonna tell us when it's. Do you think they're gonna get a release date? I don't think so.
I think we'll
No,
get.
we'll get
I
a-
think we'll get the window, fall 2021.
Late
I got
late
you.
summer, early fall.
Yeah,
something
like one of the, and that's what they normally do. Spring 2021. You know, when they're going to do the June July release. So I think we'll get fall 2021 on this one. So during the stream, by the way, chat, this applies to you too. Unless they take a formal 5 or 10 minute break, which I don't expect them to. They don't normally. But if they do, they might, to swap sets or bring different people in. Then we will also take a break. Other than that, thank you. Other than that, feel free, obviously, to come and go at your leisure. Go to the bathroom, refill your drinks, smoke them if you got them. That goes for the hosts, too. This episode is not going up on YouTube as a numbered episode of the Relic Grind or anything. This is going to be informal and fun, and just us reacting in real time to all this stuff and enjoying hanging out with Chad and watching this stuff. So, Tark, Adam, if you got to pee, you get up and go pee. Do whatever. Don't have to worry about it. Hell, I'm probably going to take a smoke break or two. Along the way in between announcements. It's no big deal for one of us to come back and be like, what I miss. That's it.
But I got all these empty bottles ready.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Keep it informal, have some fun, and do the whole thing that way. And then the only thing we are going to be formal on is assuming that this will probably kick off, or at least very shortly after kickoff, we'll hit a trailer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shut your mouth during the trailer. Okay.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah, we'll turn the volume up a little bit on the trailer so that everybody watching in chat does not have to strain to hear it, because obviously we'll have the volume turned down a little bit while we're doing this, so you can hear us reacting to different things. But we still want you to be able to hear them. During the trailer portion, I will turn it up a little bit. So that you can hear the trailer. So none of us talk during the first showing of the trailer. We could just soak it all in, all enjoy it together, and then I'm sure we'll be running our mouths big time after that. So that's the only formality, is during a reveal trailer, we be quiet. So everybody can watch it. Other than that, yeah, just have some fun tonight. I know, like I said, I know I'm going to be like, okay, well, you know what? They're going to talk about Triple Triad. I don't fucking care. I'm the only one of the three of us that plays it anyway.
Hey, I play it.
You played it once. You
No,
played the tournament once. You won, and you never played again.
That was a joke. I play it a lot, actually. That was a joke.
So
I actually still play it.
Doritos here, aka foods I don't.
The PvP section is official smoke break.
Oh,
right?
yeah, seriously, let's go smoke a pack.
I don't think you're gonna get
Starburst.
a PvP
No, we're
section.
not gonna get PvP. And some gummy bears. I haven't had gummy bears in forever. They're my favorite.
Nice.
So we're gonna.
Damn you, new carb-loaded treats.
I just started crafting and gathering in the game pretty seriously. So
Yeah, I'm getting back to that myself.
yeah, we started doing airships and subs in our free company because we hadn't done it since we switched servers. So I did it all by myself.
Nice.
And then it got me into crafting and gathering again, and now I'm doing my minor relic, and I'm almost done.
So I'm going to pull up a video here. This will just be the free-to-play cast. I just want to do a volume check. That's probably pretty fucking loud. Chat, let me know. That's probably very loud. What's up, Ferris? Loud, yeah.
You kind of want to do
Okay.
a little PvP.
So we got to dial this in. We got to figure this out. What if I put the volume there? Can you still hear what's going on in the video, but also hear us? Because you do need to... This is going to be simulcast in English, so there will be audio that you may want to hear. You can hear both? Good, 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 good. There we go. I thought they would have music like on pre-show so that we could just audio check with their music, but they didn't.
Yeah. What'd you say about PvP, Tark?
So I'm probably going to do a little bit of PvP soon because I need to get those PvP minions and the Fantasy Star
Just buy 'em.
Online outfits look pretty awesome.
Oh, you mean like the Genji / Gray Fox outfits? Those things?
What are they called? Late Allegan
Yeah.
armors.
To me, they look like Genji and Gray Fox from Metal Gear. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty cool looking. I've done my share of PvP. I'm done for a long time.
I like the YouTube chat. Somebody just said, "WoW is dead. Has been for a long time." Apparently, you missed the memo on the latest expansion.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I don't. I tried the free trial. It's not my cup of tea, but I have a few friends that play it. They play both games. They like WoW, right? They said WoW's pretty good right now.
Yep, I play both. I like them. Yeah, the expansion.
So Adam, you truly going after the Diable?
I am. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so much grinding. That is disgusting.
I'm at least gonna get my healer gear, Diable. I already have the gear. I just have to get it the Diable version, which is gonna take a long time. But Savage is farmable, so like you don't. There's no lockout on it. The really gross thing is gonna be doing cast room again.
Yep.
Because you need coins. Have you seen that, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you have to get that 999 coin piece per piece of armor to get the Diable Judge version. Yeah, and then you have to turn it in, so you lose it. Sick.
Yeah. Which means if you want both sets, you've got to do a lot of cast room.
Yeah,
I think the 700,000 metal was a bad decision, by the way.
I agree too. I think it was super arbitrary.
It was.
It was a very arbitrary thing to do. Like, because like if you watched, I don't know if you've watched a lot of people that have been doing Savage, but I've been watching a lot because I'm going in there myself. And I mean, literally, they're all at 0 now, but it doesn't matter because the 700,000 was just the unlock.
Yeah,
that was it. It was just the unlock.
Yep.
So like the only reason for them, the only reason for them to go back in now is like if they want to do Bozja in 5.5, if that requires a level up or whatever. Yeah, I think the 700,000 was really stupid. I think they should have just made it like rank 10 or rank 12 or whatever. It sucks though because like I have a bunch of friends that don't want to do this either because they don't like that type of content, and I understand. But it just sucks because the content locked behind it now it's good. That's what sucks.
Yeah.
Like Delubrum is probably the most fun. Like just the normal mode.
Yeah.
It's probably the most fun I've had in like a 24-man.
I mean, I've watched videos and everything. Like, I always any of the content that I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not going to do that. I just don't. I don't do it in WoW. I don't like it in Final Fantasy 14. I barely liked it in Final Fantasy 11, and I had infinitely more hours to MMO when I was playing 11. It's just but any of that stuff that I decide I'm not really going to do, or I'm just going to do very slowly, I don't care when I get to it. I always watch it. I always watch somebody because I want to know what's there. But yeah, I'm just whatever. Okay, I was very cool, very cool. I'll get to it when I get to it.
I think they're gonna pull little pieces from this that are successful though. I mean, they do that all the time. So.
They do all the time.
Like I really like how if you fail a mechanic in there, you get a stack.
Yes.
And if you fail 2 mechanics, you're dead. You get doomed. That's it.
Yep.
Pack it up. And then in Savage, it's the same thing. It's if you've done the last boss of E12, she does a similar thing. Same. Actually, it's the same debuff.
Oh, speaking of that, Tark, have you guys finished E12S?
We actually finally got to Gaia, so that was nice, but we have not finished it.
So you're past door boss.
Did you get to Prague last night? Did you get to Prague last night?
No, one of the guys ended up having some vertigo, so he had to sit down. So that sucked. And when you only do 3 raid nights a week.
Yeah, we did 2 a week, and that was still, I don't know. Sometimes I crave for more. It's hard. But we're like hours wise, we're pretty casual. We all play the game a lot. Well, most of us do. Some of us just raid log.
Dave, I like the content. I like it more than the near raids actually.
I think it's better than the near
Oh,
raids.
it definitely is.
I think even from a lore from a lore perspective, I think it shits on it. But it just sucks that like it's locked behind some content that a lot of people probably don't want to do. And I think Castrum was poor design. They should have done something different with Castrum. Like Castrum should be a queue. And the fact that Castrum's locking people out of the loot room is pretty unfortunate.
They'll figure it out. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You're going to see
They're usually pretty good about improving it.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of that stuff become unlocked and then a lot of it done differently in, .4, .5 next time.
The Savage is harder than I thought. I'll say that. I'd say the bosses are about the difficulty of an extreme primal.
Right.
But you can't die, and you have to beat them all in a row, which is pretty rough for most people.
So let's talk about this. Let me ask you gentlemen this. We're seeing a lot of MMOs these days cater specific content pieces to solo players, whether they be, solo dungeons or duo dungeons or, stuff like that. Do you think Final Fantasy does enough in that department?
Okay, so are you talking like they do like are you talking like cutting edge solo content, like the newest like new stuff? Because I feel like going back and doing older stuff solo is pretty fun. And I'll go do it occasionally. Like if I
but every game, I'm not talking about that because every game has that. I mean, when you hit level 80, you can go do the level 60 stuff by yourself, whether it was 8-person, 10-person, hell, even 25-person in a lot of, if you're talking about WoW or 24-person. The only thing stopping you there is some of the mechanics in the 24 versions. You need at least 2 people to go with you.
Right, yeah, Final Fantasy has some of that too.
Right.
But yeah.
So
if you're talking like cutting edge,
yeah, I'm talking. Maybe you're not going to get the best. You're not going to get the best gear out of it. It's not going to be best in slots or anything. But there's usually oddball rewards for doing it, things like that. And granted, I think we would all agree that Final Fantasy does the story version of this better than just about any other MMO out there right now, even World of Warcraft and things like that. To me, it's a better story presentation, particularly for a single player, right? You could literally go 0 to 80, get the entire story, and along the way, yes, you're going to have to do some things with other people, clear that dungeon, clear that trial, but the rest of it you can do yourself. But when you think about it in the terms like that, there is literally nothing in this game, besides farming old content, that you can do alone. Even the main story quest line, every step of the way pushes you to a dungeon, pushes you to a trial, pushes you to something that you're going to have to group up for. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not shitting on that by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just using it to set up the example of, does the game at max level really, should they evolve into, if it's just you, your team isn't on to go do something, you could still go do this dungeon or do this. This is a duo queue or whatever. We've seen it a little bit with the trust system, right?
Yeah,
that does that. It's not throughout the entirety of the game yet. At some point it will be, but we've seen them try to do stuff like that with the trust system. Should they do more of it, or do you think it's at exactly the right place, or do you think, hey, you know what, it's an MMO, fuck you, you got to team up with people? Maybe that's your stance on it.
Yeah, did you want to go first, Tark? I'll let you go first.
You can go first.
I don't think they do enough of it. I think fuck you is the wrong answer because, like, you want to cater to as many people as you can, and there are obviously a lot of people that casually play this game, and there are a lot of people that play this game that don't want to play with other people. Yeah. And I think you can do it if you just want the story. But when you try to do other stuff, you definitely cannot. And I don't, it sucks to say this, but I don't think raid content can ever be accessible to them. I think that kind of takes away from a lot of what that stands for.
And most other games don't typically make the raid content a solo version of the raid content or anything like that. Usually it's open world content, quest story content, even if it's just side stories, smaller side stories. and dungeon content is typically what you see other, Rift did it a little bit. Ion did it a lot. They had solo and duo dungeons where you just queued with 2, and that was it. And then maybe a more difficult version of that later. So I think that's where we're looking. I don't think anybody's saying, hey, I should be able to do a single-person version of the raid because I don't have 7 friends to go and experience it with. While I think that would be nice, I don't think there's any expectation for that.
I think they had a chance to do it kind of with Blue Mage. I know we shit on
Yeah.
it because like the implementation of it, it's not what we wanted because we wanted to just play that job the way Final Fantasy 14 allows you to play jobs, which I still would have preferred. But I think their intent was right there. Like I think they wanted to create something kind of like that, but the implementation and the route they went was kind of wrong.
Yeah, Dave's in chat saying the same thing, duo with limited jobs. By the way, if Necromancer shows up in this announcement showcase and it's a fucking limited job, I'm uninstalling. I'm just...
I don't think
it's going to be either, but somebody said it in the
episode of the Relic Grind.
Somebody said it in the YouTube chat for the video, and I was like, oh my God, if that happens. /uninstall.
So I will say, I know y'all probably haven't done Blue Mage at all this patch since they updated it, because I know y'all don't care, but I did. And they did add a skill in the game that makes you as strong as a 4-man party, basically, as long as you're solo. And I thought that was kind of cool, and I wish that had been there from the beginning. But really, all that does is allows you to run old dungeons. So
I think if they're going to look at that as the solo content, though, there has to be like 6, 8 of those jobs, right?
Right.
You can't just say, oh, well, you go be Blue Mage, or go be, let's say they add one here, I don't know, whatever, Beastmaster, right? Beastmaster is a limited job too. Well, okay, great.
Yeah.
So if I don't like either of those play styles, it's wrong. I'm glad that trust is becoming a thing, because I do very much like that. Because honestly, the story in Final Fantasy XIV is a standalone Final Fantasy numbered edition in and of itself. And there are people that would love to go through that, but know that there are times they're going to have to work with others. And now you're with the trust system slowly building and building and building through all the dungeons. They don't have to worry about that. I think that's a great step in the right direction. But I would actually like to see content made for 1 or 2 people, not a system made to make you 4 people because you need 4 people, Tark.
Yeah. But I'm of the mindset that, hey, you're getting into an MMO. So not F you, but that's what this game is. It's an MMO. Yes, it's a Final Fantasy first and foremost, but you got to know that you're paying a sub. It's an MMO. You need to play with people.
There was a time I would have agreed. But I think I'm different. I think it changes with my play. No, just my personal play time and stuff like that. Like when I played Final Fantasy XI, I had 60 friends in my link shell. I had a static of 15 to 20. When I was raiding ICC, I had, a group of 25 people that were doing, I turned 40 next week. My MMO, I have a ton of MMO friends, a lot in chat, you guys, a lot of people I could reach out to. Hey, Adam, come help me do this real quick, right? But the days of me specifically knowing 40 people because I interact with them every week for 2 or 3 nights a week, those days are gone for me. And honestly, for the MMO genre as a whole. That's not just a me thing. Those days are gone. We saw that with WildStar, right? WildStar was like, oh, there are a lot of people that like that 40-man content. And there were other problems with WildStar. I'm not laying this specifically at this doorstep. But that is not what people look for in an MMO anymore. That's why I think Final Fantasy has struck that perfect balance. 4-man group, 8-man for raid, 24 if you want to do it, and we're just going to queue you with a bunch of randoms. If you don't have people, and by the way, it's a tier down as far as the difficulty goes, since you're going to be working with randos. I think they've struck a nice balance with that. I agree. I don't think that they've struck the balance yet. I think they're getting there. The trust system helps, but again, that's making one person as strong as 4, not catering content towards the 1. I loved Deep Dungeon and Heaven on High because of what you could do solo. Granted, Other sidebar, those 2 pieces of content are boring as fuck.
They're really
They are
boring. I think
really
even,
boring, but I could appreciate what I could do in there or try to do or challenge myself as a single player, just killing some time. I wish it was more
yeah.
engaging, put some story in it, or make it more interesting or whatever. But I think they've dabbled in it, but they haven't quite found it.
I think yeah, a lot of people do like the solo stuff because you get the achievements for those. Those are pretty
Right.
rare. 'Cause it's actually really hard to clear those things solo.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think the issue that I've tried to do it solo. I haven't completed it myself. The time commitment that, like, I'm telling you, to beat Palace of the Dead solo is a way bigger time commitment than doing any Savage raid.
Yeah.
Because like just to get back to like floor 150 or whatever, to try the last 50 floors that are really hard, is going to take you 8 hours of just beating on like random mobs. And I think the issue too is, like, I think the Pomander system is kind of boring. Like, I think, doesn't WoW have like a similar thing where you get to choose from buffs and stuff that actually buff your characters and you get like new moves?
Ironically,
Stuff like
it just released in this expansion. It's like, hey, WoW is very good at Blizzard is very good at seeing what people like or is implemented in other MMOs and then snaking it for World of Warcraft. Torghast is a very similar feature to Deep Dungeons or Palace of the Dead or Heaven on High deep dungeoning. It's very similar to that. And yeah, you pick up various buffs and boons along the way, choosing from 2 or 3. Here's 1. Okay, I'm stuck with that one. Here's 2 or 3. Pick one. Okay, that happens. Anima powers is what they're called. So
Yeah, I think that's way more cooler. Like way better than Pomanders. Like Pomanders are like, you were really only looking for a couple,
Yep.
like the really strong ones.
Yeah.
And then some of them are just kind of like whatever. Traps feel really like, even okay. I'll say one thing about Delubrum that I don't really like. Traps are really arbitrary too. Who cares about, like? Do you really feel more engaged because you have to like locate traps on the floor and not step on them to die instantly?
I thank you for pointing that out because I totally forgot about that. And we're just chat. It is not a formal show. We're just talking about whatever the fuck we want to talk about.
Yeah.
By all means, chime in if you got something you want to talk about. The traps thing, I never got that. Like, yeah, okay, you're encouraging the use of the different pomanders and things like that. I always thought, like, if you were going to implement that, particularly if you were going to implement that in more things, then there should be, like, why isn't Thief a fucking job then? Right? Give them the function of trap searching, Tark. The historical, give them steel, give them where... If you're going to make that type of stuff in the game, then make a class or let us use a class that should kind of already be there anyway and be able to take advantage of cool stuff like that. Not just arbitrary, like, fuck, we didn't use the item, so Jimmy stepped on it. Now we got to kill 4 frogs at him.
Yeah, like even in Delubrum, like I was watching people do Savage, and of course in Savage it's a little different because, like, I mean, if you just keep walking, you're kind of dumb. Like, just let the people that have the locator things go forward. But like in normal, every time it happens, every time people walk down the hallways, and then it's just like, oh, they stepped on a trap, boom, they're dead. Oh, they killed someone else. Guess we got to raise them too. And then, like, I guess like 5 people are going to the next boss with weakness because traps.
Yep.
Like they're not engaging really, and they're just making people take a skill that then takes away from skills that are actually more fun and cool, in my opinion.
They could use the special actions, the R3 button thing, for trap searching or something unique for deep dungeon type thing.
Yeah. If they just want to give it to like a class specific thing, just give it to everybody.
Yeah. I just think the Pomanders could have been more interesting. Like maybe like enhance things from your class instead of just like, oh, here's a thing that I throw on the ground and now I see the map. Here's a thing I throw on the ground and now enemies are weaker. Like, I don't know.
This is just while we're talking about this topic, this just kind of struck me. Am I the only one in gaming that does not think the procedurally generated makes things replayable?
You mean like the roguelike type stuff?
Yeah. Procedural generation does not make shit replayable for me.
No, I'm with you because, like, honestly, the only roguelike that I've played,
and their channel has gone live, so you should hear Prelude playing now. Stream. Let me know if the volume needs to be adjusted.
Hades is the only one I've really liked, and it had nothing to do with the randomly generated rooms. had everything to do with the gameplay and like had the boons and how the boons affect your run. Had nothing to do with if this room is 9 squares and this room is 8, and if this room had 6 enemies and this room had, like, it had nothing to do with that. So
Yep.
I agree with you there too.
Okay, here,
Yeah, even
stop
going
talking.
back
Stop
to, like-
talking just for a second so that we can hear
oh.
Prelude. I mean, it's very soft. Super duper soft. It's soft on the stream too. So
Yeah, it is.
when
Thanks
when
for
they
turning
start
mine
talking, by the way, we will turn it up or down on YouTube, because when they start talking, I have a feeling it's going to be a little loud. So we'll adjust as we go. Yeah, Hades play sticks is you play over and over for story reasons, not for That's why Deep Dungeon and stuff, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I like the idea of having a long dungeon that I can just, I can beat my face against and stuff. The other thing was it wasn't terribly balanced for certain classes to actually be able to solo it.
It's not. Yeah.
It's not at all. Some of those bosses are just like unbeatable by some classes.
You know what kills me too? Why is Blue Mage not allowed in there? I mean, I understand they don't want to invalidate titles or whatever, but that's like the perfect content to put Blue Mage in, and you don't have them
They
in
can
there.
do all sorts of crazy crap. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like also like just to touch back on Hades, I like the gameplay loop in Hades. It has nothing to do with like randomly
Hades
generated.
is a fantastic game.
So.
I mean, but even going back to like Diablo 2, said in chat, Path of Exile, just because it's randomly generated doesn't mean I want to go back and over through that same area over and over and over again.
Yeah, and Fan in chat says it kind of agrees with me. However, PoE has proved it can work. I mean, Poseidon Random works pretty well in PoE, and that's how they can achieve their 12 weeks per patch / update every time. But again, I would totally agree with you. It works in PoE, but it doesn't work because of the procedural generation. It works because of the addictive gameplay loop, the rewards, and all of those things that are tacked onto it. That's why, to me, Deep Dungeon is boring. It's fucking boring.
I agree.
Yeah, you can go in and you can get the achievements and stuff.
When it launched.
Yeah, because it is built on the concept of if it's different every time, it'll be interesting. There's no real great rewards there particularly once you've done things once and achieved the various like levels and the achievements and the rewards that come with those achievements. Once you've done them once, there is zero reason to go and do it, because the only thing different that you could possibly gain out of it is a different layout, and that just doesn't work.
Actually, I can think of one game that I feel like I liked because of that. But I mean, like the gameplay was good too. But have you ever played Risk of Rain 2?
Yeah.
I actually like that game too, and I feel like if that game was the same every time, it wouldn't have the same effect. That's the only example I can think of. Actually,
I agree. I'm not discounting the fact that procedural generation can make something more interesting. Binding of Isaac, great example.
Yeah.
That's a game where, you never know how but it's not just, hey, the layout's going to be different, Tark, or the items are going to be in a different place. They go balls deep with it, and you might not even have the same bosses that you fought this time.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
But it's the gameplay based around the randomness. Procedural generation can work and can be interesting. I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying that adding procedural generation does not automatically make whatever bit of content you're creating infinitely repeatable. No, it doesn't. And Deep Dungeon and Heaven on High are perfect fucking examples of procedural generation just done wrong in my mind. And to be fair, counterpoint for those of you that watch Snowbound, I feel the same way about Torghast too. That it just isn't. I love the idea of doing that type of content solo. I hate the idea of doing that content because the way it was implemented.
That sounds just like Palace of Dead.
Yeah, the procedure generated has to be supported by other systems that are interesting as well. And there's just not enough of that with Deep Dungeon, unfortunately.
So let's revisit the for chat now that there's more people here. During the stream, we will be talking. We will be live reacting. That's why it's important that you let us know when the stream starts, that we can find an appropriate balance on the audio so that you can hear it. This is not a formal show. This will not be up on YouTube. We are all just hanging out, having a good time. We are going to do the announcement showcase. We may stick around and do some of the live letter later. We may not. I don't know. It depends on how all of us feel. I may go to bed, and just read it tomorrow morning. I don't know. We'll see. I'm old. I'm not going to go to bed. I never go to bed. I'm never in bed before like 3.
If you're old, then what am I?
Yeah.
Old plus 1?
I guess. You're not older than me, are you?
Yeah.
Are you really? How old are you? Can I ask, or do you? If you don't want to answer, you don't have
No,
to.
that's fine. That's fine. I'll be 41 April 1st.
Oh, so then yeah, you are old plus 1.
Yep.
I'm the kid, dude.
You're the kid. How old are you, Adam?
Young whippersnapper.
I am 32, almost 33.
Yeah.
All right, at least you're in your 30s.
So you're old minus 7. All right.
Yeah. Relative.
Yeah,
Relative.
relative. I like how we just made everybody's age relative to mine. I'm the center of the fucking universe.
You're old medium.
Anyway, so it's going to be informal. You know, if they take breaks, which I don't think they will for the announcement showcase, they might if it's. Remember, we have like 3 hours or so, 4 hours between the from the start of the announcement showcase to the start of the live letter, almost 5 hours. So if the announcement showcase is 3 hours, then they may take a break or two. Then we'll take a break. If not, one of us may just get up to go pee. I know I'm going to go smoke, during announcements. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you guys can tell me about this when I come back. It's going to be very informal, very just reaction, having fun. We got the snacks. I'm very happy because I don't eat a lot of junk food these days. That stopped a good 6 or 7 years ago, but I've got Starburst, gummy bears, and Doritos to chill with. However, assuming that towards the beginning of this, we will probably get a trailer of some type, we will turn the volume up on that so that you can hear the entire trailer, and we will not talk during that trailer. We will give our reactions after that. What do you mean I'm not making it to 48? I never eat this shit. This is like rare occasion stuff. For God's sakes, it's
a special announcement. Bust out all the goodies.
Grilled chicken and grilled shrimp for dinner, pasta, and it was with a light sauce too. Awesome. Like I'm such a, I can't do that anymore. I can't eat that stuff. So I'll eat a little bit of it, but I'm not a huge snack guy anymore. Lost 40 pounds. I have no desire to put it back on. So yeah, that will be a little formal about for the trailer. Then everything else is, come and go as you please. Refill your drinks. Smoke them if you got them. Speaking of that, everybody, we got about 12 minutes before this is scheduled to start. So why don't we just do a little informal break now? Use the bathroom, refill your drinks, all that stuff, and we should be getting started soon. So yeah, I'll be right back.
What's the furthest y'all got in 12, Tark?
I was just about to leave.
Man, don't keep you.
The first set of mechanics, I think we got them pretty much figured out. We just need to get back in there to implement it.
Gotcha. Are you still blind? Doing it blind?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, let me rephrase that. They're pretty much blind. I'm like, screw it. We're 8 weeks in. I'm ready to have this content completed. So, hello, Sticks. How are you? What's the opposite of senpai? And they're the student.
What is it called? I don't remember, dude. Hold on.
Son?
Is it no? I don't know.
See, now I gotta look that up. I'm doing all right, man. I'm excited for this. I'm 5 degrees of pump. Chan?
Oh, Chan. Yeah, there you go.
Mystics Chan.
Get out of here, man.
I'm assuming you know each other.
I know him, yeah. He's in my raid group. That's my white mage.
Nice. Okay, see, I knew it was San or Sun. It was like, it's close. Jan is for girls, Sun is for boys. Well, you're definitely not Kohai. All right, I'm going to take that break as well. Be right back, chat.
Yep. Maybe they'll show Blitzball in the gold saucer. You don't know. It's possible. They tease it like all the time. Like they tease that they're trying to figure out how to make it work or put it in the game. So I think it's gonna eventually happen at some point. It's just a matter of when. I don't know how they're gonna do it though. I really don't. I thought again I'm like I don't really know either. I thought Kun was for like people that are like the same age as you, like your I don't know. I watch a little bit of anime, but not enough. So I don't really know for sure. Oh, it is younger. Okay, cool. I learned something new. So Chan is for children. Interesting.
Oh man. Oh, I guess that is one we can ask. Do you think we get some type of Blitzball reference during the show?
I commented on it when the chat brought it up. They like to tease it all the goddamn time.
They do.
So I really think it's a matter of when. I think we get it this expansion, if I had to predict. But I don't think it's going to be like with the expansion drop. I think it's going to be in some kind of patch. I don't know how the hell they're going to do it.
I don't know.
Like, I don't know how it's going to work.
And to be honest, like our memory is very nostalgic on that. Going back, Blitzball is terrible to play. It's just awful to play. It doesn't feel that great. Thief maps. Yeah. We are supposedly 6 minutes away. Want to thank all of you for choosing to join us for this tonight. It's very kind of you. Your time is valuable. We appreciate being able to spend some of it with you. That is much appreciated.
Yeah, this is really cool. I'm glad people are here.
Yeah, Cutie Boy, thanks for the follow. Cheers for you. Disco lights in the background for you. You were offended by Blitzball. The fact that they making you stop adventuring to do a sport thing really annoyed me.
Yeah, I hear that a lot too. Because they force you to do like what, like the two? I think you have to do the tournament, right?
Yeah, you have to do the main tournament. At least 2 games. 2 games.
I think because you get a buy, right? Yeah. So yeah.
Yep.
And then if you want Waka's weapon, or I think even Titus's like last.
You got to do a lot more. And to be honest, thinking back, like too, when I watched my son Torchwick go play through 10, I don't think he's finished with 10, but he started weapon, or he started it. like it's not that great at teaching you actually how to play it. Hoping to see some 4 or 9 or even both referenced in the next X Pack, since it looks like we're headed to the moon. Lots of people thinking that. Lots of people thinking we're going to the moon. Tarkoth said that on last Relic Grind. Not last one, the one before, when we like kind of locked in our predictions for this one.
Dude, what if the trailer starts on the moon? I don't know.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. That's for sure. I always love. I mean, so Final Fantasy XI is the MMO that I've played for the longest period of time steady. Actually, I probably have to go look at that now because I think Final Fantasy XIV might beat it. I think there's only a total of 5 months since 2.0 launched that I have not been subbed. One was I took a break from like everything. You know, when I left Game Breaker, I wasn't doing content for anybody. I stopped playing MMOs for like 3 months. And then once I took like a 2-month break just to take a break. It was like a .4 where I didn't care what was coming up in it very much. And I went back and did it later type deal. So yeah, I'm closing in on like 3,000 subscribed days or whatever.
Yeah, I have an absurd amount. I never unsubbed from the game. I took like a break when I played the card game pretty hard.
Yeah.
Like I stopped raiding but I still did the patches. Like I still logged in for the patches.
Yep.
I still leveled my classes. But I wasn't really playing like every day. It was more like a once a week thing, maybe even once every 2 weeks. But then I went back in pretty hard as soon as Shadowbringers came out. But I think you started playing like right when it dropped, and
I played version 1, so yeah.
Oh well, if you even count that too, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not counting that too. That's separate. Okay. That's separate.
That is separate. It's a game that no longer exists.
2.0 launched, I think there's only been like 5 months that I have not actively been a subscriber.
Yeah, my slash playtime in this game is absurd.
Yeah.
Same.
Granted,
I don't think I've ever gone unsubscribed.
Yeah, me neither.
I took a 3-month break, but I've never unsubscribed.
Yeah, like granted, a lot of that playtime, not a lot, but a good portion is just AFKing in towns, but or like sitting on the front lawn, jumping around, waiting to queue up for raid. Yeah. That's a real thing, by the way. People post that all the time. It's like a joke.
Yep.
That is a real thing.
That's absolutely a real thing.
Taking circles around Yulmore.
I am in my front lawn a lot, just jumping on the fence for minutes at a time, waiting to queue up.
I'll tell you what, I can probably run the fastest lap around the Limsa Main Plaza Aetheryte Crystal. That's for sure. I've done that many a time, too. Just straight circles around it, cutting the edges, pretending I'm NASCAR waiting for a queue. I guess we haven't guessed on the theme of the 24-person raid either.
Oh, God.
I mean, that could literally be anything.
I made a joke one. Do you remember my joke one?
Mm-mm.
The Harry Potter crossover?
Oh, event? Yeah. We know it's definitely not that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to guess that. It's really hard. Because it's so different from typically like what the main thing is. Yeah. Usually, but it might not be the case this time.
Although they incorporated the Evilise stuff in there pretty damn well.
Well, and even the Final Fantasy III Crystal Palace stuff was implemented really well.
Yep.
And then Nier Automata, which, while I appreciated, I did it and I was done. Oh, looks like we're starting.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Get over that.
Chat, let me know about volumes as we go here.
fabric of the star had begun to fray, its lands rent by tooth and claw.
Are you all right?
I can look after myself, you know. And I've had enough of this racket. Come on!
Past the far edge of fate, ring blades dark and light, tolling the coming of the end.
Win! Yeah!
Wow.
All right, so we got the fall 2021 right.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Endwalker.
I said they were going to show the moon
Endwalker.
at the beginning. I was kind of joking, but they
They
did.
did show the moon at the beginning
And the end.
and the end. We're definitely going to be on the moon. Alice at least gets to start as a red mage. That's the first time that Alice's gotten to keep their damn job or her damn job.
Oh
But
my
it
God,
looked like
so good.
was that Alphino that jumped in and almost like rune fencer type abilities?
I don't
That's
know what he was, but he's definitely a healer.
Yeah, he's still a healer type.
Because he heals her. He definitely heals her. It's not chemist. There's no way. I mean, that doesn't seem like chemist. So.
No comment shirt.
no comment.
術的に青木吉田、プロデュクターエレアリザタ、ドゥファイナルファンタジーカトス。グーテンダック、トゥザメン、イヒビン、直木吉田、プロデュセン、ディレクター、from Final Fantasy FFXIV.
Look at Yoshi P just busting it out in like 6 languages.
The shirt has to mean more
Yeah.
than it does. I'm trying to see what the image is.
It's tough to see.
コメント返してもらってるんで、すごいたくさんいる。ありがとうございます。じゃあ早速新情報発表会、お届けしようと思うんですが、グローバル対応なので僕一人ではとてもじゃないけどさばききれないので、
Oh, also the
今日
name,
僕のね
right?
心強い
Endwalker?
トランスレーターを呼びたいと思います。
Yeah, that's what I
Oh,
said.
so-
Yeah.
マイケル
The one we
クリストファー
hadn't
コー
seen
リー
at
フォ
all.
ックスです。
They definitely kept that tight-lipped.
コージよろしくね。
Hello, everyone. On behalf of our producer and director, Naoki Yoshida, I'd like to welcome you all to the announcement showcase for everyone
So,
here and watching around
Just to
the
throw
world.
this out there,
My
Endwalker
name
really
is
makes
Michael
it feel like
Christopher
this is the
Cozy
last
Fox,
one,
and
right?
today I will be
Yep.
Yoshi P's English voice.
ありがとう
Could
あり
be.
がとう。さすが英語上手だね。
Yeah, I'm pretty good at English.
How did nobody find this trademark?
So many comments.
Yeah, it's impressive.
They're going too fast.
Well, the only
I
reason
can't
I
see.
was kind of questionable at first, but then I thought about it because I was like, well, they would have leaked it. But
Yes,
Yep.
thank you very much.
Yoshi P literally said like no, like it was a straight no, and he usually doesn't do that if like he's beating, like beating around the bush.
Yeah, I want the stream volume a little bit lower than
や
this.
っ
Yeah.
ぱりこう世界中でどうしてもね広がってしまっている新型コロナウイルスの対応ということでなかなかファイナルファンタジー14ファンフェスティバル必ず大規模に世界中でやってるんですけど、まあそれができてないと。
So usually around this time of the year, or even earlier, we would be holding a Final Fantasy fan festival.
I like that
to
polo
announce,
shirt Koji's
our new
wearing.
expansion.
I do
but
too.
because
Oh,
of
also
the
the cover
pandemic,
job was
that
Paladin, right?
That has limited us.
Like that was what was on the moon, the paladin.
Yeah, our boy is going to be a paladin this.
They
episode.
baited me the first time because I thought it was Black Mage. I thought I was right at the beginning of the trailer, and then it was Paladin on the
する
moon.
っていうのが難しい状況の中で、今回は日本で映画館を借りてですね、皆さんにファイナルファンタジー14の最新情報、これからの未来をお届けしていこうと思います。
Because there are people around the world putting out their most to fight this pandemic and make sure that it doesn't spread any further. We've decided to hold this announcement showcase here in a theater in Japan to do our part.
Koji always sounds like they made him run 4 laps before he was allowed to come out on stage.
Because he probably had like half a pack of cigarettes just before coming on stage.
7 Red Bulls.
発表させていただいた次なるファイナルファンタジー14の拡張エンドウォーカーというのもやっぱりちょっと時期がずれていってしまってます。
As you remember, back around during, right around the development between patch 5.2 and 5.3, because of the pandemic, we had to slow down our development for about 2.5 to 3 months. And because of that, that has affected the release date of Endwalker.
Predictable. We talked about that.
ファンフェスティバルの基調講演1回目プラスアルファぐらいで、
The
聞い
chat's
ていた
called
だ
it
ければ、こ
Moonwalker.
の先ね、デジタルファンフェスもあります。
It's pretty
今回とそのデジタルファンフェスの2回に分けて、この最新拡張エンドウォーカー、
think the
行列
chemistry
の
is
お
dead.
話をしていこうと思います。
So today,
Sorry,
we'd
bro.
like you to treat this announcement
I mean, I'm still
showcase
gonna play the
as
game.
our first big fan festival, like the keynote announcement that we have at our first fan festival. And then, of course, later in the year, we're going to have our digital fan festival, and there we'll be releasing even more information.
はい、というわけで今日は可能な限り、新情報をお届けしていきた
I
いと
just
思
thought
い
of
ま
something
す。
too that
Right, and so today
he
we're going to try
he
to tell you
touched her
as
when he
much
healed her,
as we
right?
can.
Yeah.
So
さあ、まずはですね、
not
これ
cat,
は
like maybe it's like a
先ほどご
melee
覧いた
healer.
だきました。
I don't
まだまだティザートレーラーではありますが、世界のね、週末を思わせるような、惨状が巻き起こっていました。
So you just saw our first teaser trailer, and even though it was a teaser, it was filled with lots of exciting information about Endwalkers and the second coming of the final days.
We're gonna get like the 5 or 6 minute trailer at this event too.
I doubt it because usually that has story spoilers,
Right.
right? For the
Yeah,
game.
5.5 hasn't
Warrior of
released
Light
yet, so
and members of the Scions were again battling against the coming of the final days and trying to prevent it.
というわけで、こちらファイナルファンタジー 14.6.0 エンドウォーカー行月のフィナーレと読みます。今年2021
Oh, the subtitle there
秋を目指
means
して
dawn
開
of
発
the
を進め
finale.
ております。
And so,
Beginning of
our
the end.
newest expansion, 6.0 Endwalker, is slated for release in fall of 2021.
poor boy.
そういえばコージファイナルファンタジー14.9.1.0 からねずっとスタッフとして参加してくれてるよね。
Right, yeah, I've been around since 1.0.
今日実際
Yeah,
この
yes.
放送を見てくださってる方にも多分ね 1.0 からやって
There's
くださって
probably
る
a lot
方
of players watching today as well that have been around since 1.0.
There's a few of
コ
us.
メントを見ると
Just a
いる
few.
のかな。おーすごいたくさんいらっしゃいますね。ありがとうございます。このアートワークですね、実は 1.0 の時に似たような構図のアートワークがございます。若き日のね、光の戦士なのかな。
If you recall, there is a similar type of artwork that we had back from 1.0, back when the Warrior of Light was a lot younger, but doing a similar type of pose.
はい、ぜひね、ちょっと見比べていただくのも意図的にね、ちょっとその成長というかね、軌跡を照らし合わせてみたので、そういったところもね、見ていただけると嬉しいかなと思います。
We'd like players to take a look at this and remember back to that 1.0 Warrior of Light and see how he has moved forward and see how he has developed over the years.
まあ僕もね、年取りましたね。
Yeah, we've also come along in years as well.
というわけで今回、このなんだろうプロモーションでね頑張っているこう光の戦士、今回は主役ナイトジョブに、ジョブチェンジして活躍してくれそうです。
And so as you can see here, our
Yeah, he's
Warrior
gotten a
of
little
Light,
older.
he will be fighting this.
Got a little bit of
expansion
experience
as
in that face.
I mean, when the world ends like 6
では
times,
早
you know.
速中身について触れていこうと思うんですが、こういうタイミングいつも僕ストーリーのお話からするんですけど。
Okay, so
Bringing it
now
full circle.
We want to get into a little bit more of the content.
They
of
haven't said
Endwalker.
anything
And
about the
usually at this
TCG
point in
start.
the
Not yet.
keynote, we'll
It
start
just
talking
started. We
about
got the
story.
trailer, and that was it.
さっきねトレーラーの中に気になる
Or the teaser
シーンが
trailer.
あったと思うので、最初はこちらの情報から今回行こうかなと思います。
But as you saw in the trailer, there is something that was very important, and we want to touch upon that before we get into
First
the story.
class. Here we go.
Yep, here we go.
今回もですね、新たな
That is
情報
plural,
を
by the way.
複数、まあ2つなんですけ
Oh,
ど、
yeah, good.
この
It is
エン
plural,
ドウォーカーで
At
2
least
つの
two.
ジョブを実装させていただこうと思います。
So for Endwalker, we are planning the release of multiple jobs, 2 new jobs.
All right, we're getting our
前
two.
回の思い出すとですね、ファンフェスでこうジョブを発表していった時にですね、ヒーラーがい
He said
ねえぞ
healer.
というのをですね、世界中のプレイヤーの方から言われまして、
So at past Fan Festival, when we announced the new jobs, we had a lot of feedback from players all around the world saying that we didn't have enough
Yes.
healers and we needed new healers.
なのでまず今回は先に、
Couple
今回
hours
実装
at
す
least,
る
like-
2つの新しいジョブのロールを、お伝えしてしまおうと思います。
So before we get into which new jobs we're going to be releasing, we want to tell you at least which roles those 2 jobs will be.
はい、もちろん一つは、世界中からご要望いただい
That is pretty
たヒーラ
healer
ー
and
を
ranged
として、
DPS, yeah.
一つ実装させていただきつつ、もう一つは近接物理 DPS を実装する予定です。
And so the first role will be healer, and the second will be
Oh,
melee
wow.
Wow,
DPS.
melee.
Melee. Ooh.
ちょっとね予想
Wow.
をネットのを見てたんですけど、
Well,
な
that
んかです
changes
ね
things.
力士が実装されるんじゃないかっていう予想が結構見えてて、
Now I think
どっ
Rune
からその予
Fencer,
想が出てきたのかすごい
melee
不思議なんで
DPS.
すけど。
So we've been checking out,
Ninja set or
how,
Dragoon set?
what people have been speculating.
Oh, yeah, melee
the job
magic,
to be.
yeah,
And
could be.
The guesses have been kind of off for the most part.
結構ね
The guesses have
コメン
been
トで
kind
も
of
近接
off
メレ DPS ってことは
for the
力士が
most
待ってたみたいなことはあるんですけど、力士ではございません。
So yeah, we're not talking about any individual wrestlers for that melee DPS. It will be something different.
今回トレーラーに登場していた、アルフィノ、彼がまさに新ジョブへとジョブチェンジしております。
So as you saw in the trailer, it is Alfino that has changed into that new job specific to
And we
Endwalker.
saw that.
今日はですね、その2つ実装するジョブのうち1つ、ヒーラーの新ジョブについてご紹介していこうと思います。
So today, at this announcement showcase, we'll be revealing one
I
of the
knew
2
it.
new jobs, and
Oh.
that will be the healer job.
They're
では
only going to
早速
reveal the
ではあ
healer
ります
here.
が、その新ヒーラー
So we have to speculate on what
ジョブ
Alphino
の
is.
ご用意してありますのでご
Well,
覧
no, he
くだ
said
さい。
Alphino's the
Yeah,
healer,
Alphino
right?
is
So
the
rather
healer.
than explaining,
Oh,
we'd first
okay.
like to show you a video of that healer job in action. Here
But
we
we're
go.
not going to see the other one till the May showing. Yeah, that has to be Rune Fencer.
I think Rune Fencer is a healer.
I think that's what they're going to make it one. I typed it in chat when I saw Alphino doing it.
It looks like some kind of Magitech thing, right?
Yeah.
That's a shield.
Yeah, we. Sage.
That's an interesting take on Sage.
A very interesting take on Sage.
今回ですね、行月のフィナーレ、新ジョブ第1弾は、魔力を込めた武器を、操る賢者というジョブ名になっております。
So the first new job for Endwalker is Sage, sporting a unique ether-imbued weapon.
ちょっとね、CG でもご紹介して、アートと CG でご紹介していこうと思います。
We have some CG and some art that we'd like to show you.
まあ、かっこいいですね。
looks
14
awesome.
オリジナルの武器を操ることになります。
So, as you can see, the weapon that the main arm that the Sage will be using is a Final Fantasy XIV original.
まあ、アルフィノがどのようにこの新ジョブにねジョブチェンジしていくのかというのはメインストーリーの方で語られていきますのでそこはね
Them
ストーリー
floaty
の方をご覧いただければと思ってます。
So why did Alfuno happen to take up this new profession? You'll have to play through the main story of 6.0 to find out.
はい。で
Yeah,
は
he got sick of
賢
his
者の
sister
その
changing
特徴
jobs.
を簡単にではありますがご紹介していこうと思います。
So now we'd like to give you a simple rundown of how the job actually works.
まず賢者の特徴、まあ一つ目、まあヒー
Probably
ラ
start
ー
at 70.
70, I
お
would
伝えしました
imagine,
ロール
Baron.
はヒーラーとなります。
So as we mentioned before, the role is going to be a healer.
白魔導士、学者、それから
It's usually
先
the
生術師
previous
に続く
expansion's
第
starting
4の
point.
ヒーラーとして、今回賢者が追加となります。
And so Sage will be our fourth healer behind White Mage, Scholar, and Astrologian.
そしてですね、武器は剣具という14オリジナルになりますね、
Nulets,
武器を
nulets.
使います。
As we mentioned before, the main arm for the Sage is going to be a Final Fantasy XIV original called the Nuliths.
まあ、魔力でこれを操作するっていう感じなんですけど、後ろにある4つの、武器、あれがグラフィックス変わっていろんな武器になっていくというふうに
And
思っ
so
てください。
this weapon is controlled by the ether, by the magic that the player has. And as you see, those four items back there, that is the weapon. The visuals of those will change depending on what type of weapon is equipped.
そしてですね、当然クラスの方は、ございません。ジョブからいきなりスタート
Why is that even
Yeah, I
on
was just
this
gonna
floor?
say, why
And
do they
as,
continue to
has
put that
been
in
the case
there?
Recently, there is no required class, and you will start directly from the Sage job.
初期レベルに関しては、70から予定しております。
And the starting level is planned to be 70.
No surprises there.
いずれかのですね、ジョブがレベル70に到達していて、この今月のフィナーレエンドウォーカーの、拡張権利がついていればすぐにでもね、始められるようになってます。
And so there are two conditions for playing the Sage. One is that you have at least one job, one other job that is level 70 or above, as well as you have purchased the Endwalker expansion.
No surprises there
さあ
either.
ではバトルイメージの方も、簡
Status
単に
quo
ご紹介していこうと思います。
So let's take a look at, a little bit, take a look at the battle style of the Sage.
今回実装となる賢者聖司は
Yeah, I want to know who put this idea on the table. Like, okay, we're gonna do Sage. Let's have them have flying
Mm-hmm.
things.
So we look at the Sage as a barrier type healer.
Okay, so Astro is gonna lose Diurnal. That's what this sounds like.
今までバリアヒーラーというのはですね、まあ学者、まあ白魔導士がねピュアヒーラーと呼ばれていて、学者バリアだったよね。で今回なるほど、じゃあ賢者は
Gundams
バリア
have
ヒーラー
weapons
として
like
実装されるのね。じゃあ先生術師はってなると思うんですけど、
It's true.
Okay, so as you know, we have our White Mage, which can be considered a pure healer, and then we have our Scholar, which is more of a barrier healer. And so if this time the Sage is also going to be a barrier healer, then what's going to happen?
Oh,
to
Pure
the
healer.
Astrologian?
ヒ
They're
ー
just
ラ
gonna
ーは
be
ですね
regen
今
healer,
回
yeah.
6.0 から
Yeah.
ピュアヒー
They're
ラ
gonna
ー
lose
それからバリ
Nocturnal
アヒーラ
Six.
ーに
Astro's going more white
明
mage.
確に区分した
Honestly,
バランスで
Nocturnal
取
Six
っていこうと思
sucks,
ってい
so
て
it's fine.
先生術師を完
No
全に
Astro
ピュア
wants
ヒ
to
ー
be
ラ
a
ー用
Nocturnal
に
Six.
回収していきます。こちらについてはですね後日また詳しくどう変わっていくのかお伝えしようと思ってますが、ロールとしてはヒーラーの中でもピュアヒーラーとバリアヒーラーが分かれていくというふうに思ってください。
So, starting in 6.0, we are planning to make a clear distinction between pure healers and barrier healers. We want to have two pure healers and two barrier healers. And so, with 6.0, we plan on performing some retooling of the Astrologian job to make the Astrologian job a more pure healer.
Thoughts, gentlemen, on that
あ
one?
のもちろんですねレイドファインダーとかのマッチングもちゃん
Yeah,
と
that's
ピュア
if they're
ヒー
going
ラ
to
ー
add a
とバリア
fourth,
ヒーラーで
they had to
マッ
make
チン
a
グするように
differentiation
そちらにも
between
手を加えていくつもり
the
で
four
す。
healers and
And
having
this will
two
extend
barrier,
to,
two healer.
our
It seems like
matching between
the
the raid finders
proper way
to
to
make
go.
a distinction between barrier healers and pure healers.
Yeah, I think there was two decisions they could have made. One was that, and the other was you homogenize across the board.
See on the comments.
I honestly
They
think
just
this
said
decision
Raid
was-
Finder is going to make that
早すぎ
distinction
て
too.
わからないよね。
Oh.
Oh, because probably
Cool.
you know how now you can do
what's going
one
on.
per job.
Yep.
They'll probably have it you'll have
そ
pure
してです
healer,
ね
shield
武
healer
器に
as
関
a
して
slot.
は
Right.
魔法によって剣具という武器を操っていろんな回復だったりですね攻撃だったりバリアを張ったりということをやっていきます。
And as we mentioned before, the Sage will use Ether to manipulate their weapon, the Nuliths, in combat, whether that be for healing, whether that be for attacking, or whether that be for putting up barriers.
それからですね、まあこれファイナルファンタジー14は各ジョブでゲーム体験を変えていくっていうところをコンセプトにしてるんですけど、賢者の場合は一時的に自分の魔法を強化していくっていう新しいそのプレイ感
that's my co-healer.
進めています。
I think he's asking me because I had claimed chemist. So now I think he's saying so I can take that one. Right?
Different kind of experience for each job.
That's all you, man.
Here with the Sage, where they're able to temporarily augment their own magic abilities to make them more powerful.
まあその攻防一体というところもあったりして、
I'll level it,
いろいろまたこれまでのヒーラーとは全然異なる体験をお届けしようと思ってますので、ぜひ楽しみにお待ちいただければと思いま
We
す。
believe the experience that we will be providing with the Sage will be completely unique and a lot of fun. Please look forward to it.
そしてです
There's the first
ね、
please look
ジョブ
forward
クエス
to.
ト、この賢者になるためのジョブクエストに関して
Hey,
は
you wanna play a
皆さんの
drinking game, dude?
審査
We
か
get
ら
drunk.
開始予定です。ですので、今月のフィナーレ、エンドウォーカーがリリースされてすぐ、ジョブクエストを開放して、新しいジョブでね、冒険を進めていくことも可能になります。
And so this job quest for the Sage will be offered in Limsa Lominsa. So
Why do all the
if
jobs
you
start in
want to
Limsa?
play the new
That-
6.0
I don't
main
understand.
scenario
They
as,
don't. What are you talking about?
the Sage, you will be
Gunbreaker,
able to do
Dancer.
Gunbreaker's Gridania.
Gunbreaker's Gridania.
Doesn't it go to Limsa though? It goes. It's like goes to Limsa pretty early on, right? I feel like I remember
Yeah,
getting
maybe,
a lot
but
of my
I
quests.
mean, it's in Gridania.
単語が出てるんですよ。
So you're looking at the comments and you see lots of things that are mentioning kind of Gundam. That
There you go. See,
are kind of Gundam-like.
よくわかんない。それに関してはね、まあここに書かれてる通り、まあノーコメン
I
ト。
mean, we already know
That's
Yoshi
okay.
P is a huge Gundam
No
fan.
comment.
ケ
yep.
ングです。お忘れなく、ケン
These
グ
are
という
called
武器です。
Nuliths. It's completely original.
はい。
No influence from nothing. Nothing that's
Completely
in here.
original.
踏まえて、ちょっとイメージついたと思うので、それを踏まえてですね、もう一回動画をご覧いただ
I
こう
stay
か
away
な
from
と
Limsa.
思っております。
All right, so with all of this in mind, let's have one more look at what the Sage can do in that showcase video again. Play the video.
I'm probably gonna go Sage. I'm tired of books.
So now you want floaty Gundams that are totally original. Not
Yeah, sure.
not related to Gundam
Better than-
at all.
Better than books.
Same video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the one that's gonna have like job ability text shown.
Okay.
Or not.
No, it's literally the same video again. Like they've done this before where they show the video again, but then you see like the icon and the spell name show up.
Yeah, I mean all those skills are pretty obvious to me. Like one's single target damage, one's AoE damage,
Yeah.
and then they have like their single target shield.
さあ
Looks much cooler than
というわけ
Adlo,
で動画ご覧いただきました。
Right, and so that was the job showcase video.
まあなんかちょっとおしゃれでスタイリッシュですね。
New shirt.
It's a very stylish job, you could say. Wait, wait, wait.
Oh,
wait.
okay.
Yoshi-P?
はい。
All
right, so it's a Grim Reaper.
You were hot.
Right?
That's a necromancer, baby.
Uh-huh.
Uh-oh.
And anything else?
何？
Something else?
いやノーコメント。
No, no comment. Okay.
No
さ
comment.
あさあさあさあ。まあ新しいジョブのね賢者。ぜひご期待していただきたいんですけど。
But Necro's a
まあ
melee
もう一個追加
DPS?
するよって言ってる
I don't think the
説明
Necro itself would be.
DPS に関してはまた、
But it summons
次のですね
maybe.
デジタルファンフェスティバルの方でお届けしていこうかなと思っております。なんかコメントがねすごいざわざ
Trying
わ
to
して
think
るんですよ。
what else it could be.
So we'd like you to please look forward to this new Sage job. Concerning the second job that we have planned for release in Endwalker, we will be revealing that in May at the Digital Fan Festival.
Good lord,
Dark
3
Knight.
months from now.
Dark Knight? People are guessing that the second job is Dark Knight?
意外とあれです
You already did?
なぜか急にネクロマンサーとか言ってる
あ
声
Were people actually guessing Dark Knight
さて何の音だろう
in chat? I
probably
wasn't
in
looking
chat.
like, really? You know that class that's already in the game?
Yeah.
まあまあまあまあそういうわけで
It's the mascot of this current expansion. Come on.
お届けし
Yes,
て
we will have more information on the new job at a later
お
date.
ります。もうなんかネクロマンサーか力士かって書いてあって、力士は忘れてほしい。
Yeah, please. Yeah, it's not going to be
はい。
at wrestler. No, not.
さあ、続いて、じゃあセクションを進めていこうと思います。
All right.
続いては、
Oh, he
ストーリ
always
ーに
yeah,
ちょっ
he
と
always
触れてい
trolls.
こうかなと思っております。
Yeah.
Okay,
The
now
shirt
let's talk
matters,
a little
though.
bit about
Oh,
the
it definitely
story,
does.
in that.
Here we go.
Always matters.
Tell us where we're going,
その前にです
Yoshi.
ねちょっとタイトルにご注目いただきたい。
Okay, to start, I'd like to draw your attention to our title.
ファイナルファンタジー14
Okay, Final Fantasy XIV.
エンドウォーカー
End Walker.
行月のフィナーレ
You translate this. This is the Dawn Moon
The
finale.
Dawn Moon finale.
ファイナルエンドフィナーレ
Final end finale. I sense a pattern.
意地でも終わるのかみたいな。
It's gonna end.
Final Fantasy 14 too.
このキーワードが示すのはメインストーリーの大きなサーガとして約10年にわたって、お届けしてきたハイデリン・ゾディアーク編と呼ばれているサーガが今回、この 6.0 行月のフィナーレで完結を迎えます。
So final end and finale. These are all keywords that allude to the ending of this 10-year saga of Hydaelyn and Zodiark.
こちらですね、まあ、Q14 から続けてきて、
Good night, Baron.
僕が
Thanks for hanging out with us for a
担
little
当になっ
bit.
てですね、2013年に
Yeah,
ア
thanks.
ーレルムリボーン、リリースさせていただきました。
So if you look back at my history with Final Fantasy XIV, it all began in 2013 with A Realm Reborn.
まあ、こちら神聖の朝。
So you look at this as a new morning.
そして拡張パッケージ第1弾ヘブンズワード蒼天のイシュガルドはまあ蒼天の昼かなと。
And so then we move on to our first large expansion, Heaven's Word, which represented that clear blue sky that you have at midday.
そして2つ目の拡張、東方にも光の戦士の皆さん冒険広がりました。
And then on our second expansion, the Warrior of Light headed east.
ストーンブラッドグレンの日暮れと。
And in Stormblood, we came upon a crimson twilight.
そして世界中で非常にご好評の声をいただいた、前回の拡張パッケージシャドーブリンガーズ、漆黒の夜となっております。
And then finally, our most recent expansion that was praised around the world by fans, we have Shadowbringers and the Black of Night.
そして今回次なる拡張パッケージエンドウォーカーによって、まあ、惑星ハイデリン星の、命をめぐる物語というのがちょうど綺麗に一周するところでハイデリン
this is it,
ゾディアック編完結
Like, this
さ
is the last
せてい
expansion.
くつもりです。
And with Endwalker, we come full circle in the tale of life and Hydaelyn.
さてこれまでの拡張パッケージちょっと注意していただきたいんですけど、例えばですが今回前回のシャドーブリンガーズ、まあ、今パッチ 5.4 まで来てますが 5.0 単体でのもちろんエンドロールっていうのもありますが漆黒のヴィランズの物語がきれいに最終的に完結するのはパッチ 5.3 でした。
So normally with our expansions, as you know, we don't end the story at that first expansion. While in 5.0, for example, we did get that end credits at the end of 5.0, the story wasn't actually finished until 5.3.
今回はこ
They'll
の
end the story
その
6.5.
内容で全てきれいに完結させるつも
What
り
if
です。
it just ends there?
However,
Like,
with Endwalker and 6.0, we plan on having the story complete itself by the end of the
yeah,
actual
so
expansion.
6.0 is it.
6.0.
ただですね、ちょっとコメントをすごいザーザーしてるんですけど、これでですね、もちろんファイナルファンタジー14が終わってしまうわけではございません。
But of course, this does not mean that we are shutting down Final Fantasy XIV and ending the game at this point.
パッチ 6.1 からはハイデリン・ゾディアーク編とは異なる新しい物語をスタートさせていくつもりです。
Beginning in patch 6.1, this will mark the beginning of an entirely new adventure separate from the Zodiark Hydaelyn saga.
そしてですね、
Wow.
同時にですね、あれ、吉田やめんのかな
Interesting.
みたいなコメントがちょっと見受けられるんですが、
And then I've also seen some people thinking that Yoshi-P is leaving the project at this point.
私はやめません、そのままもうなんかほぼライフワークなので、お前もういいよと社長からですね、言われるまではライフワークのようにファイナルファンタジー14続けていきますので、ぜひですね、まあ、もちろん 6.0 楽しみに遊んでいただきたいんですけど、その先もですね、まあ、死ぬまで頑張ろうかなと思っているので、ぜひこれからもですね、14ともどもですね、僕もよろしくお願いします。
But I want to assure everyone that I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving the project. I look at Final Fantasy XIV as my life work, or at least until the president tells me to stop. But for me, yes, 6.0, we'll be ending the story, but from 6.1 on, we have an even greater story. And I personally feel that I'm probably going to end up being with Final Fantasy XIV for my whole life.
はい、
See, now that's more in line
そうそう
with
やめ
when
んじゃない
Tark,
の
you said,
みたいな
you know,
出るんですけど
2, I think my retort was they would probably just take the story in a different direction.
Every now and then I
This
do
seems
hear,
more
a
along
lot
that
of rumors
lines
about
than,
people thinking that I
okay,
might
we're going to do
quit
a
and leave the
Final
project.
Fantasy, you know,
If
14-2.
If I will leave the project, I will make sure I let you
At
all
least
know.
short
But
term.
for now,
At
I
least
feel this
through
is my
through
life
the
work and I have no
.x.
plans on leaving.
結構厳しいですね、皆さんね。死んでも続けろって書いてある。
Yeah, that makes me think that they're not doing two. Actually,
Yeah,
the way
I
they're explaining
well,
it.
I would think I was the only one that said I didn't think they were doing one, but
俺
No, yeah, I think you were. I said they were eventually. Yeah, like, but that the way he worded it makes me think that,
死んだよ
like, because
あー
otherwise you would want to run it out, right? So
Right.
you'd want to have the story in 0.5, like Tark
Right,
said initially, in
I'll
order
do
for
my
it to lead
best.
into it too. Because that would
なの
make
で
more sense.
別段心
But I
配
feel
な
like
くですね
starting a new
この
story in
ハイデリン
0.1
ゾディア
and
ク
then
という
leading
物語
into a
の
sequel
クライマ
kind
ッ
of
クス
seems
をです
weird if
ね
they do
僕ら
that.
全力で皆さんにお届けしていこうと思うので、それをぜひ味わっていただきたいです。
So again, please do not worry. We're working very hard on the 6.0 story, and we believe it's something very exciting, and hope you look forward to it. And we're working on stuff after that as well.
じゃあストーリーの前段をちょっとまとめてみましょ
it
う。
does to
So,
your
let's
point though that
take
you've made
a
before,
look
Tark,
at the
make you
actual,
wonder
content of the story.
when are they going to dump a lot of tech debt?
第一世界
Yeah.
へ皆さん行き、運命の反逆者としてまあ滅びの運命から運命を変えてですね、今新たな未来へ進んでいってますが、そもそも太古に起きた
To the
終末と
moon.
はまあ何だったのかとか。
So, your journey up until now has taken you to another world, the first, where you became the warrior of darkness and averted the destruction of the star. And it was there that you learned of the final days, these calamitous events that gave birth to Zodiark and Hydaelyn.
まあ、ゾディアーク、そしてハイデリンとは今どうなっているのかとかね、全ての謎を解き明かすため、プレイヤーの皆さん、光の戦士はついに惑星ハイデリンを離れ、月へと向かっていただくことになります。
So, what is going on with Zodiark and what is going on with Hydaelyn? How does their story end? We'll learn all about that, as well as depart from Hydaelyn and move to the moon.
多くのですね、
With a giant
人から
whale
受け取った
airship.
思いを受け継いで光の戦士はハイデリンゾディア
I
ーク
would
へ
actually
最
be
後の
disappointed
謎
if
に
that didn't
挑んで
happen.
い
Me
く
too. Me too.
People across Hydaelyn are
I think
putting,
I'd be okay if
all
it
of
did
their
it.
hopes and dreams into the Warrior of Light to save them from this, and so this will be a journey that will take the Warrior of Light there to find out what's going on and to save the planet.
テレポしたらなんとたったの999
So do we think this
ギル
cashes in then on
で
Final
買えたんです
Fantasy
月まで
IV in a lot of
Someone's
ways, this
commenting that's
expansion?
for the low, low price of
Probably.
999 gil, you
Probably.
can teleport to the moon.
いやわかんないよね
Who
ね
knows?
え 9万ギルとか取られるかもしれないよね
Not what? 90,000 gil to the moon.
でまあこれまでねハイデリンゾディアーク編漆黒のヴィランズでもかなりの謎を解き明かしてきましたがまだまだ多くの謎残ってます
So a lot of questions have been answered
That's a
up
cool
until now
set
in our
from the
expansions,
trailer.
but there's still a lot of questions.
I
that
mean,
have
I don't know
left to
what
be
that
answered.
is, but
終末というのはそも
looks
そ
like the
も
ruins from
なぜ
Final
起きたの
Fantasy
か
IV on the moon.
So why? What brought about the final days?
ハイデリンとゾディアークと呼ばれている存在は今どうなっているのか
What became of Hydaelyn and Zodiark, and what is happening with them now?
そしてガレマール
I
帝
just
国
saw
という
something on Twitter.
もともと
Moon
ね
housing.
非常に強い軍事力でエオゼアを支配していたガレマール帝国はどうなる
That would be hilarious.
And of course, you have the Garlean Empire. You know, once a very, very powerful force across the whole realm. What has happened to them? What is their fate?
そして活動し始めたゼノスとアシェン・ファダニエルの目的は何なのか
And what are Xenos and the Ascians, Fandaniel's aim, and what is their plot?
Fandaniel just wants to
そしてですね、
catch shit on
月に
fire.
行くのはいいけど、
Yeah.
そもそも
He's a Joker, Agent of Chaos.
あるのみたいな。何あるの月って。
And so you all know we're going to the moon, but how are we going to get there? Is there any air on the moon to breathe? What is on the moon? What type of monster?
はい。まあこれらを、僕ら全力で皆
Yeah,
さん
it does seem kind of
全て
weird to be searching for
綺麗に
ethereal currents so that we can fly on the
解
moon.
明かされていくように全力でお届けしようと思います。
Yes, yes,
Team is currently
yes,
working
yeah.
very hard
Space
on
whale.
this story to make something very exciting and to give you all the information you need and answer all of those lingering questions.
まあもちろんね、その時光の戦士がどうなっていくのか、それから暁の血明のメンバーがどうなっていくのか、それからですね、託された古代人たちから託された思いというのはどうなるのか、それらはぜひ皆さん
I
の
think it sets
目
up
で
pretty nicely for the
確かめてください。
24 man to be Final Fantasy
All of these
IV theme, though.
questions
Yeah,
will be
for sure.
answered, not just
Yeah,
the fate
especially
of
with
the
it
Warrior of
being
Light,
6.1,
Warrior of Light, but
3.5.
also the fate of the Scions. And we'll
My question
find
is the
what
main
dying
raid.
wish of
How's
the
that going to
ancients.
play
All this
with
and more we'll find
being
out
6.0 and then
in Endwalker's main scenario.
6.2?
まあね、月行ったらね、エヴァンゲリオンとか。
They can kind of do whatever they
待ってるかもし
want.
れないね。
We're going
Hard
to
to
find
say.
Evangelion in the moon up there.
さあではちょっと、キャラクターね、トレーラーの方から。
Maybe the raid is
All right, so let's have a closer look at the characters
Ilsebar.
that we saw in the trailer.
まずアルフィノですね、今回、新ジョブ賢者にジョブチェンジしています。アルフィノが着ている衣装が、新ジョブ賢者のジョブ専用装備のアルフィノバージョンですね。
Okay, and so first up we have Alfino, our new resident sage. The gear that he's wearing in the trailer is the Sage AF gear, but it's been designed especially for him.
by the
そ
Ironworks.
して双子の妹アリゼですね。
And then next up we have his twin sister Alize.
まあ引き続き彼女は赤魔導士としてどうやら戦っていくようです。
And as you can see, she is still fighting as a red mage. No job change for her.
でようやくですね、どうやら彼女新しいコスチュームに着替えるようです。ちょっとね、寂しそうだったんで着替えるらしいですね。
But she will be getting a costume change. She didn't get one before. She's finally getting one.
まあこのコスチュームがですね、誰にどういう思いとともに、渡されていくのかというところにもちょっとご注目いただければと思ってます。
And you may be surprised to see who she gets it from and how.
そして続いてはですね、アシエン・ファダニエル。
Okay, next up we have the Ascian Fandaniel.
まあ、転生組のアシエン・ファダニエルですが、グレー編に登場した朝日というキャラクターの体を、利用する彼の目的がね、果たして何なのか。
Right, and so the sundered Ascian Fandaniel, as you know, he currently inhabits the corpse of Asahi, who first appeared in Stormblood, but we still don't know too much about him.
結構ね、彼ね、嫌われてるんですよね。
Yeah, a lot of people love to hate this guy.
ただですね、大丈夫、ご安心ください。彼はラスボスではございません。
Do not worry, he is not the last boss.
まあラスボスじゃない
Fandaniel not the
まあ
final
彼にはね
boss.
さらに実はまだ大きな秘密があるんですが、そちらもかなり完全なスポイラーになるので、単純なお話ではないというのだけお伝えしておきます。
And he's keeping a pretty big secret, a very complex secret. And if we say any more, it'll be too much spoilers, so we're going to stop right here.
はい。
We're gonna stop right here by saying nothing.
Right, and last but not least, we have
ゼノス、彼もまたですね、表舞台へと登場しそうですが、まあ彼の望みはもうとにかく友である皆さん、光の戦士と英雄と再戦したいというだけです。
And he's ready to take the stage once again, and he has a singular purpose. His one purpose in life is to battle with his friend and enemy, the Warrior of Light.
いやいや、もちろんね、皆さんが彼のことを友達だと思ってないというのは僕もよく知ってます。
Yeah, and we understand that not a lot of you think of him as a friend.
ただですね、彼の友情は一方的で非常に強いので、もうちょっと諦めてください。
But he most certainly feels that way about you. You are his friend.
まあどうやらね、
Friends like that, who needs enemies?
コスチューム違う気もしますが、さてどうなっていくのか。
And it
お
does
楽し
look
みに。
like he has a change of wardrobe as well. But to find out any more, we'll have to play Endwalker.
さあ、行月のフィナーレではですね、もっとたくさんのキャラクター登場してですね、ある意味ハイデリンゾディアク編、皆さんが10年以上にわたって、冒険してきた、一旦の総決算になる予定なので、どんなキャラクターが入り乱れてくるのか、ぜひご期待ください。
And it has been 10 years since the beginning of this Hydaelyn and Zodiac saga, and you've met a lot of characters along the way, and we hope to bring back a lot of those characters for this story in 6.0.
ストーリーについてはね、全ての謎を解き明かしていくので、ちょっとこれ以上はネタバレが多すぎるので、ここまでにさせていただきますが。
So there are a lot more mysteries regarding the game's story, but it's so hard to talk about it further without revealing any spoilers. So.
漆黒のヴィランズでもね、驚いていただいたように、ファイナルファンタジー14開発チームがね、そんな単純な話で終わるかというのだけ、なんとなく思っておいてもらえれば、びっくりしてもらえる仕掛け、たくさん用意していきたいと思います。
And as was the case with Shadowbringers, this story is not going to be a simple one. It's going to be a very complex and intricate story that will sure to bring lots of surprises and excitement.
はい、では、続いて 6.0 エンドウォーカーの全体像についてちょっとお伝えしていこうと思います。
Okay, now that we've talked a little bit about the story, let's get into some of the content that will make it into the game.
さあ、まず最初のセクションこちらです。
So we're going to start with
レベルキャップが開放となります。
Stunned.
We're increasing the level cap.
こちらですね、レベル80から90。
It looks like new artifact gear art,
知ってたってみんな言うんですけど。
And we're going up from 80 to 90. I mean, pretty much everyone saw this coming.
So that shirt is a Japanese
But we'll soon
brand
almost
called
be at
Neighborhood,
100. We're very close.
Okay.
which
随分頑張って続けてきたね。
that series is called Neighborhood
It's been a long,
Tabloid
long road.
2.
は
Okay.
い、そして、
We're getting deep. Let's keep going down the rabbit hole. What else?
That's it. Like, I can't find any references to like content besides t-shirts that they make for that
So you
brand
cannot have
that have all these
an expansion
very
without new areas, and
almost
we're
Tales from the
planning to add new
Crypt-ish,
locales on the
you know,
same
looks
scale
to
as we
them.
have
You know,
had
comic
our
book
previous
woman
expansions.
screaming death,
ではですね、
saying I'll be here when you
現
need
段階
me.
でお見せできるアートワークとスクリーンショットで一部だけ、今日はちょっと一部になっちゃいますがご紹介していこうと思います。
So today we can't show much, but we do have a few screenshots and pieces of artwork to show you of some of the new areas.
Moonscape.
まずはですね、ショータウン
So we're starting off with one of our smaller towns.
ご紹介したいと思います。
That's pretty.
And this is it.
どこだこれ？
Wonder where this is.
I mean, that is
こち
pretty,
らの名
but
前はですね、
it's very
Oh, Razatan.
ラザハンという、
It's
町
very
になります。
And the name of
Ilmor.
this city will be Razathan.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
もうちょっと近づいたねスクリーンショット見てみましょうか。
Let's take a closer look.
They're in the
はい、
south,
入
right?
り口かな？
There's a screenshot of maybe the entrance, the main entrance gate.
I couldn't tell you.
ラザハンはプレイヤーの皆さんになんだろう。14って拡張するとってこう大タウンと小タウンっていうのがあって漆黒のヴィランズだと、ユールモアに該当する場所だと思ってください。クリスタリウムじゃなくてね。
So with each expansion, we usually release 2 towns, one smaller town and one larger town. This is going to be the smaller town for 6.0, kind of on the same scale as Yulmore from 5.0.
じゃあ 6.0 でいうクリスタリウムに該当する大タウンはどこなんだよって聞かれるとそれはまだ内緒です。
Now, as for what the large town is going to be like, we really cannot talk about that yet.
ではちょっと建物の中も少し見てみましょ
So let's go inside the town. Take a look.
う。エーテライトが回ってますね。
There you see the ether right there.
今までのファイナルファンタジー14のまた文化圏にないところへ行っていただくこと。
There's a link on where I was looking into
The
this
design
shirt.
here has a cultural flair that's a little
Actually
bit
wasn't
different
the
from
easiest
anything
thing to
we've seen
find.
in Final Fantasy 14 up until now.
でこれどこなんだっていう
You
と
can
です
see
ね
other examples in the
こちらを
Google
ご覧いただ
search
ければなんです
results
けど
there.
ファイナルファンタジー14のシナリオにこれまで、クエストとかですねサベネア島っていう場所が、たくさん言葉としては出てきてます。
And so where exactly is Razathan?
Yeah, that's to the
Well,
south.
a lot of players that have been playing 14 for a long time will know, have heard the term
Oh,
Thavnair,
Thavnair,
the
yeah.
region of Thavnair, as it has appeared a lot since back in the early days of Final Fantasy 14.
踊り子のねジョブの発祥の地でもありますね。
If you remember the dancer, most of the original dancer outfits and fashion comes from the island of Thavnir.
そのサベネア島一つがまるっと新しいフィールドとして登場して、そこに、ショータウンのラザハンがあるというふうに思ってください。
And so, one of our new areas is going to be that complete island of Thavnir.
You feel
along with
Xenos
the
is the
town of
new
Razahan
melee
inside
class
it.
now.
これまで登場して、
And before he gave up and went to
荒れたよう
one
な
sword, I would have said he could have been a
まあど
rune
んな光景
fencer
があるのか楽しみにお
carrying
待
the
ちくださ
multiple
い。
blades.
The whole area has a very subtropical feel to it that is original to 6.0.
もう一個紹介していきましょう、じゃあ。
Right, let's take a look at another location.
The moon.
一転して、なんだ
Yes.
これみたい
What could this place be? It's completely different from
Wreckage
Razahan.
of Ilsebard.
な。こちら、新しいフィール
They're
ド
in the middle of a war for
名
crying
前
out
は
loud.
ですねこうな
Name
り
of
ま
this
す
new。field?
There it
Yep, there we
is.
go.
帝国の首都のはずである
They had
ガ
to
レ
do
マ
it.
ルドがフィールド
Right, if you're gonna end the
として
story,
Yeah.
you gotta do
Yeah, we
it.
have to go to
なんだか大変なことになって
Garlemald.
るっぽいですね。
The capital of the Garlean Empire, Garlemald. Although it looks a little like it's broken down a bit.
Well, I mean, it is in the middle of a
こちらも
fucking
ですね
civil
ちょっ
war
と見てみましょう、スクリーン
right
ショッ
now.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at a screenshot.
いやー
900
Is this
factions vying for the
どんな国
throne.
だったのかなと思いきや。
Is this so? Let's just say some of our
So we
guesses
always
are
thought that
completely
the
wrong.
Garlean Empire is
Others
a
have been
majestic
dead on,
place,
though.
But if you look at it here, it's pretty run down.
Like this
Wonder what
one, we
happened.
all predicted that we would go to
まあ一体
Garlemald
ね
in
ど
some
ういう
fashion
経
here.
緯でこうなっているのか、それから光の選手の皆さんはどういう経緯でここを訪
That
れる
image
こ
looks
とに
very
な
Final
るのか
Fantasy VI.
Oh,
謎
yeah.
ねいっぱいあります。
So how did this area turn this way, and why does the Warrior of Light have to go there, and what will he or she find there?
まあここでもね、非常に大きなドラマが光の戦士皆さんを待ち受けています。
There's a very deep and intricate story that is related to this area.
Very deep and
まあ
intricate
行く時は
story
です
that'll
ね
be
ぜひ
wrapped up
こ
in
うして
10 levels,
向かっていただきたいと思います。
So get ready for your journey there.
along with the other two deep and
はい。
intricate stories we've
そ
already
してですね、
told you
まあ
that were
新しい
deep
フ
and
ィールド
intricate.
があると当然新しい出会いっていうのも、出てきます。
And of course, what would new areas be without new tribes to live in them?
はい。まあこういう新しい獣人たちとのね出会いっていうのも
Yay, rep
待ってま
grinds.
す。そう
Yay!
So in 6.0, you will be meeting some new tribes.
なんか若
I hear
干
that's your
こう
favorite
セ
thing,
ンタ
Mike.
ーでさ
Actually, I don't
ま
mind
ず
them.
をさ主人公感出してるのイラッとこない。
So this artwork, yeah, you can see right in the middle is the Namazu kind of there, looking like he's the best, the leader.
I still have to
なんか
finish
私が
two,
主
but
役ですみたいな。
Yeah,
everybody
he's
else
the
I have
hero.
max rep with.
今回まあちょっと一部になりますが新たな獣人、名前はマタンガその中でもアルカソーダラ族という、種族
The
が登
elephants?
場してきます。
So our new tribe that you will be meeting are the Matanga, and it's the Arkasodra tribe.
これすでにね出会ってる人は出会ってるんですよ。
Some people may recognize this.
アジムステップでですね非常に敵対してくるモブハントのモンスターがいたりするんですけどその中でも友好的なのが、アルカソーダラ族で先ほど紹介したサベネ
These
ア
are the
島で
elephant
出会い
men
が待ってる
from
と思います。
Stormblood, right?
So in the Azim steppe, especially those players that participate in the hunt,
Yep.
have maybe encountered one of these very aggressive beings before. However, the ones that you will be meeting in 6.0, you'll be
Wear
meeting in
bright
the
colored
Thavnir,
muumuus.
are a little bit more friendly, at least those from the Arkasodra tribe.
宝の地図ダンジョンでね結構象モチーフでいろんなねこうグラフィックス出てると思いますけどいよいよ、まあ、そのうち
Playable race, Adam. I'm rolling this.
Oh, you got it, dude. All you. They probably can't wear helmets though.
Players may
Damn
recognize,
ears.
Or have any
some of
facial hair.
the elephant
Or any hair in general.
designs from some of
Yeah,
the
what about all the
hunts
haircuts?
that
Yeah.
have gone on in the past. We're finally going to that area and seeing the inspiration for that type of statue work.
まあ獣人は他にもいるんですけどもうちょっと、公開お待ちいただきたいと思ってますただまあね月ですしね
And we have many more tribes to introduce, but we can't introduce them today. Those will be saved for a later day. But thinking about it, we will be going to the moon, so
ファイナルファンタジーで月か
It's Final Fantasy. We're going to the moon. What could be on the moon?
というわけでそのうちまたご紹介していこうと思います。
And that's enough. We'll talk about it later.
はい、当然ですね。まあいい出会いもあれば悪い出会いもございます。
But again, you won't be just making friends in the next expansion. There will be
Problems
threats
and
to
raids.
deal with.
夜道では会いたくありませんが、まあこんなやつとの出会いがあったり。
Yeah.
That looks dope.
Oh,
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that will be waiting for you.
That looks awesome.
yeah.
ファイナルファンタジー10が好きだという方はちょっ
He's
と
definitely one of the
and
big
everything.
ones that's missing.
So
So
if there are
that makes
fans
sense.
of Final Fantasy X out there, they might recognize this creature.
アニマという異形と出会うことになりそうです。
His name is Anima.
で、まあ今回ですね、ファイナルファンタジー10の時にアニマを作画したスタッフは、ファイナルファンタジー14のアートスタッフでもあるんですよ。彼が14
That actually feels like a summon you could fight on the moon. I can see you
14
fighting
用
there.
にですね、
Yeah.
まあ
Agree.
いろいろ理由があるんで、書いたのがこちらになります。
And so the original designer of Anima, the art designer of Anima in Final Fantasy X is actually a member of the art team on Final Fantasy XIV.
Oh, nice.
And recreated the design for Anima to fit the Final
It looks
Fantasy.
really good.
It really
That art
does.
looks really good.
はい、
I love the
そして
chains.
That needs to be a card.
もちろん
Right.
多数の新ダンジョンも登場してまいります。
And
I hate
like
when
our
they put
past
that-
expansions,
the
we'll
word
be adding a
challenging
lot
in
of
there.
new dungeons.
こちらもですね、スクリーンショット、それからアートワーク等々ちょっと見てみましょうか。
All right, and we have some screenshots and art that we'd like to show you.
まあ、ほぼアートになっちゃ
There's
い
a
ます。
Garlemald dungeon.
It's mostly art today, I guess.
もうなんか、早くも
No, that's not the
世界終わりそう
Garlemald
な
one.
感じになってます
That looks like more
Oh,
like
this
the
is-
Avenir.
Yeah, that's the
Like getting
Avenir.
close to the end of the
Like,
world.
if you look in the background,
Think
the
that's
back
gonna be
right,
on fire already?
you see like the back right,
Yeah,
that
look in the
town
back right.
back there.
Right back here.
Ruins and large statues.
It looks more like the colors and
It's
stuff
just the
from the town.
architecture in here too.
It looks a little
Yeah.
bit like Thavnir, but a lot different from what we just saw.
Yeah, he even just said that.
Yeah.
そしてこんな
That's the
場
moon.
所も出
That's
て
definitely
That's
the moon. Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
And this is another dungeon.
This is like what I would
そして
imagine
有機生命
the
体っぽい
lunar ruins in 4 to look like
Yeah.
if you made them in
biological
modern day graphics. So there's
or like-
definitely a ton of 4 inspiration going on here.
さらにさらにですね。
And we have this as well.
That looks
Yeah.
Garland.
That's Garland.
Kinda.
Yeah. Okay, that's
列車
Garland.
なのかな
Looks sort of like a train, possibly.
Ooh.
Oh, they said train.
Mhm.
まあ
Okay.
They said
皆さん
train.
を待ち受ける今回 6.0 のダンジョン、基本的には
Did,
メイン
did,
シ
I
ナ
feel
リオ
like
で
did,
言ってい
did
ただく
like
ことになりま
like
すが、
wait a bunch of
ファンタ
episodes
ジー
back we
要
were
素
talking
それ
about
から
primals
まあ
and
古い遺跡
we had talked about
それ
Doom
から
Train.
Yeah.
現代を
I think
思わせる
it
場所
looks like it's
いろ
happening.
んな
It's gonna be a
要素が
dungeon boss. Probably
皆
looks
さん
like
Suplex
考えています
Or the train could be the dungeon
So,
to get to where we're going.
With,
could be. Yep.
as usually is the case with our dungeons that we add, you'll be visiting most of them during the main scenario. But this time we have a wide
Looks almost like a
variety
train
of
graveyard kind
dungeons,
of
some
thing.
that are very
Might be
high
that. Yeah, look,
fantasy,
people in the chat are saying it now too.
some that have maybe ancient ruins, as well as some that have a very modern feel.
変化に富んだダンジョンをいろいろ現在ね、ものすごい勢いで制作中なので、ぜひ楽しみにお待ちください。
We're currently in the process of creating all of these new exciting dungeons, and we hope you look forward to them.
それではさらにバトルコンテンツちょっと続けていこうと思うんですが、まあ皆さんが、楽しみにしている大きな要素の一つかと思います。こちら。
Okay, now we're going to talk about another
Ooh.
one of our battle contents that we have planned.
希望の園エデンというシリーズが、パッチ 5.4 で無事に完結して我々開発チーム新しい高難易度レイドの8人レイドの開発に取り組んでます。
And so, with the story of Eden finally concluded, we've been hard at work preparing a new 8-person raid.
こちらイメージイラストご用意しております。
It's too early to
Figured
give
they-
details, but we have some art to show you.
Ascians.
Yep.
なんかどっかで見たこと
It's always Ascians. See, we just fought Ascians in the last raid.
This guy
Well,
kinda
I mean, I
looks
think I feel like they kind of
Seen
have to
somewhere
use the
before.
raid to tell
Oh.
Fandaniel's story if it's
Wow.
going to be separate from
なんかどっかで見た
Xenos' story,
Yeah,
because they said
Spark, we've
Fandaniel
seen it
was not going to be
somewhere
the
before.
final boss,
ラハ
Right.
which would put Xenos in the final boss of the storyline. So it makes more sense if Fandaniel is wrapped up in the 8-person.
こちら高
That's
難
Laha
易度
Breo,
レイドのタイトル
That is,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was about to
Yeah.
say, is that
バン
his
マデン
half of his
パンデ
glyph?
モニウムとシリーズシリーズでお届けしていきます。
We can tell you the title. The title will be Pandemonium.
はい。
That's an area in Final
こ
Fantasy
のレイド
IX.
はですね、どんな場所で、行われるのかというのはちょっと伏せていきます。かなり特殊かなと思ってます。
So we cannot talk about where this raid will take place. It's going to be very, very unique to Final Fantasy XIV.
まあ今回ね6.0でハイデリンゾディアーク編
But see, the thing is, right? The raid's gonna come out after, right?
Yeah, it's going to come after the store's done. That's why I was like, it's going to be weird what they do with it because the first raid will be 6.0
Yeah.
at the end of the story.
In
So
conjunction with that story that we're completing of the Hydaelyn and Zodiac saga, we plan to tell this new, completely original Final Fantasy XIV story of Pandemonium.
はい。もちろんコーナーレイドはね高難易度だけではなくアライアンスレイドも、新しいシリーズをお届けしていこうと思います。
And of course, we're not only going to be releasing high-end raids, but a new alliance raid as well.
I think we actually mentioned Final Fantasy IX as like one of the options for the raids too, right? When we talked about.
ニーヤシリーズとのクロスオーバーで進めています。まあこち
We're
ら
doing okay.
パッチ 5.5 また楽しみにしていただければと思
Yeah,
う
I
んで
mean,
すが
really, the two that we missed badly were the name and the
企画を
classes.
スタートしてます。
Everything else we've
So
been
we're currently approaching
right in the
end
ballpark, if
of
not
the
dead
overall
on.
Dark Apocalypse alliance raid, which will complete in 5.5. But in the background, we're also working on a new alliance raid.
でこちらどんな内容なのかは次のデジタルファンフェスでお伝え
I
し
feel
たい
like
と
this
思っ
has
て
to
るん
be
ですが
Final Fantasy IV
今
theme
回は
at this point.
14オリジナルのストーリー展開でお届けしますが
It's
エ
going
オ
to be
ロ
an
ゼアにあ
original
る
story
古くか
here.
らある大きな謎を扱っていくのでまあ14との中の、サーガ完結1個目のサーガね完結に向けてかなり濃い話になっていくのでこれもぜひ楽しみにしてください。
So we plan to release more info on this new alliance raid at our digital fan festival. But we'd like to tell you that it is a completely original Final Fantasy XIV original alliance raid. It's not a crossover. And it will be
No crossover.
Centering on a piece of Eorzean lore that has remained steeped in mystery for a long time.
Charlians,
結
the
構
New World.
謎の存在がねまだ残ってるんですよね。
Yeah, there's still a lot of questions that haven't been answered for a long time. So
ヒルディブランドかって言ってるから
is
結
it
構
Hildebrand? Hildebrand alliance raid.
That would be funny.
はい、ではさらに続けていきましょう。
All right, let's continue on.
All right, smoke break time.
They did do it.
Yeah,
They
I'm
did
gonna
it.
go smoke. I'll be right back, gents. Let me know if I miss anything. I didn't think I'd get the PvP to smoke break.
So we're also working on new PvP content that is more small scale than what we currently have.
まあフィーストをねこの先どうしていくの今ある少人数 PvP のフィースト
Yeah, they
をどうしていくの
both
ってまあお声も頂戴してるんですけど僕らが
It's
今
hilarious. I'm actually
計画
kind of
している
interested
のは
in this
ロールの概念を廃止
because I
して
think they needed
フリ
in
ーロール
between
で
PvP
もっ
mode
と
between
カジュアルに
the
楽
large
しんでい
scale
ける
and the small scale they have now.
PvP という新しいコンテンツを制作してます。
So it needs to be like
So
eight
currently,
man.
our plan here is to create
Like eight
new
v8.
PvP content that feels more casual and more immersive by removing role restrictions.
でこれまで以上にマッチングしやすくかつ気軽で奥深くねレーティングにチャレンジしていく人はいけるみたいなところで、開発を進めています。
And our goal is to make something that makes matching easier than before and casual yet immersive in its gameplay.
でリワードに関しても、まあ、報酬に関しても、まあ、単純なギアとか、まあ、ギアとかももちろんありますけどそれ以外に全く新しい報酬カテゴリーというのを用意していろんな人に楽しんでもらえるように、鋭意ね企画の方を進めてます開発進めてるのでこちらも続報にぜひご注目いただければと思います。
It exists, I
we're also
promise you.
working
It's just
on
not
a
very
new
good.
type of reward system for this new PvP as well that doesn't focus solely on gear. Of course,
They
there'll be
either
gear,
needed
but
to
we wanna
abandon it
have a
or
new
try to fix it.
category
So I'm hoping
of
this is
reward
like
as
an
well,
attempt to
again,
bring something
open this
actually
up
fun
to
to the
a
game.
lot of new players.
はい。でもちろんねバトルコンテンツ以外にも大小さまざまな、コンテンツ遊び実装されていきます。
Okay, in addition to battle content, we also have a lot of other content as well.
じゃあサクサクいきましょう。
Let's take a look.
まず新たなサイドクエストもたくさん、拡張といえば実装されていきます。
So we are planning to add a lot of new quests.
This is
今
obvious,
回
nothing
漆黒
new.
のヴィランズね新たにロールクエストっていう仕組みが実装されましたがもちろん今回も用意されてます。
And with 5.0 and Shadowbringers, we introduced a new system, a new type of quests called role quests. We plan on continuing those in 6.0.
でただちょっと漆黒のヴィランズと一部変更させていただいてます。
but we're going to be making one slight change to that system.
これまではタンク、ヒーラー、近接 DPS、遠隔 DPS という4つのロールに分けてロールクエストを展
Sounds like
開
they're
して
making
ました。
changes to their role
So up
quests.
until now, there are originally 4 categories that we split these role quests into: tank, healer, melee DPS, and range DPS.
さすがにちょっとざっくりしすぎてたなという反省からですね、タンク、ヒーラー、近接物理 DPS、遠隔物理 DPS、魔法 DPS というふうにロールを1個追加して、クエストをご用意しようと思ってます。
We're going to now be expanding that from 4 different types
Oh,
to
they're
5
just
different types,
making the
tank,
physical range and
healer,
caster range
melee
different.
physical DPS, ranged physical DPS, and magic DPS.
まあその分ね、お話と体験にちゃんとフォーカスしやすくなるので、クオリティ高いものをお届けしていこうと思ってます。
And this will allow us to focus more directly on each type of role and make a deeper story.
もちろんギャザラークラフターの皆さんに向けた5.0 でいう民工芸館のような一つの場所によってみんなでいろんなロールのクエストをやっていくっていうところももちろん用意してます。
And then there's also plenty of role quests that are planned for crafters and gatherers as well, such as those offered in 5.0's The Crystalline Mean.
まあ名前言いたいんですけど、大タウンの名前言ってないんでまだ言えないですね。
I want to tell you more about it, but because we haven't talked about the large town yet, I can't say anything.
はい、もちろん多数のね新装備、それから新しいクラフトギア、用意されてます。
And of course, there won't be just role quests for crafters, but also we've developed plenty of new craftable gear as well.
それから続いてフェイスシステムにも、アップデートがあります。
All right, next is an update to our trust system.
今月のフィナーレに向けてフェイスの NPC が追加となります。
We will be adding a special someone to join you as companion.
A special
ちょっとね
certain
楽しみにしてる人いる
someone.
と思うんだよな。
A lot of you have been waiting for this guy.
Oh.
この
Yeah,
方
it had to be.
フェイスに追加となります。
Had to be
And
Estinian.
this is who it is.
新たにですね、エスティニアンが竜騎士として参加することになります。近接 DPS としてね、参加するの
I
で。
think he's got to be a big part of the next couple patches.
足りない問題というのもこれで解決する
They
かな
haven't done anything with him in like 2 patches
So
now.
Estinian
Well, he's
will be
healing
joining
Garlemald.
the
Yeah,
trust
he's
as,
he was
of
in
course, a
Garlemald,
dragoon.
but he was also
and then
doing
being a
side
melee
stuff
DPS
that
character,
nobody would
this will
talk about what he was
hopefully help
actually doing.
alleviate,
Remember?
That glaring lack of melee DPS characters in the Scions.
まあ彼がね、どういった経緯で暁、まあ彼ね結構一人で動くの好きですから、暁と行動を共にするようになるかというのは近日リリースされるパッチ 5.5 と、それからそのあたりからのねメインストーリーの流れをぜひ注目していてください。
But again, why would a lone wolf like Estinian join this group of the Scions? You have to wait and find out, but information is coming if you play in 5.5.
裏切りそうって YouTube で書いてあるね。
No, he won't betray us. He won't betray us.
ファイナルファンタジーシリーズの竜騎士って結構裏切るからね。
Dragoons in Final Fantasy usually betray.
まあ一回やってるから多分大丈夫だと思うんですけどね。
He's betrayed once, he won't do it again.
フェイスというシステムの活用は、まあ、これに、まあ、キャラクターの追加にとどまらず、一応今実は計画していることはあるんですけど、まだ今ちょっと計画中なので今日具体的にお知らせするのが難しいです。
And of course, we have further plans for the trust system, not only just adding new characters, but also making adjustments to that system as well. But we cannot talk about them yet today because it's still a little bit too early.
はい、キャラを追加する
Yeah,
だけ
so
じ
in
ゃ
the
なくて
last
フェイ
few
スを利用
patches,
して
he
こんなこと
was
さらにできる
in
よみたいなと
Garlemald
ころっていう
with
のは
Gaius,
今後の PLL
but then
とかで
kept
も
disappearing,
進捗があり次第お伝えさせていた
and
だ
the
こうと
Scions
思
like
って
knew
ま
how
す
to reach
And
him.
not
Like
just adding
Cryo
new
and them, they
characters,
knew how
but
to get
also adding,
messages to him, but
new
they weren't
types of
talking about
activities,
what he
new
was
types of
doing.
duties for your companions to take part in. Again, we won't tell any more today about it, but we have exciting information coming up in future producer.
Cannon's now
はい
really suspicious of
そしてです
Estinian.
ね、続いてこちらゴールドソーサーに
Uh-oh.
も新たなコンテンツの追加を予定してます。
Right, we are also planning an update to the gold
And
saucer.
more mounts for
特にですね、規模としては、
Someone to
マルチ
collect.
マージャン
Oh, don't you worry,
という
dude. I have
もの
enough
にまあ
MGP
並ぶぐら
for a
い
lifetime
ちょっ
of
と大きな
mounts.
ものを今計画しております。
I am prepared for any
The
gold
current plan
saucer
is to add
drop.
something almost as big as the recent edition of Mahjong.
みんなどういうも
This
の
is
が欲しい
Blitzball, dude.
What does everybody want?
Ah,
It's got to
come
be
on, man.
Blitzball.
やっぱりこう
Do it.
あ
ブリッツボールが
Blitzball
多い
Blitzball.
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 Blitzball, 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 Blitzball.
Everyone's saying Blitzball in the
フォール
chat.
ガイズ
Fall Guys.
フォールガイズが欲しい。まあね、なんか今回のレイドで落ちたりしてるもんね。あとスノーボードね。
Snowboarding as well.
Snowboard.
Fall Guys.
Fall Guys.
もうやたら相撲って言ってる人いるんでね、さっきからね。
Even sumo, of course. Sumo.
はい、ちょっとこれまだ詳細が言えないので、ただかなり大きな、しかもプレイヤーの皆さんのキャラクターを使って楽しんでいける、まあしかも誰でも楽しんでいけるような新しい、まあしかもねマルチプレイできるような、コンテンツを今計画してます。これももうちょっとしたら多分お伝えできると思うのでお伝えしていこうかなと思ってます。
We plan on it being, again, like we said, plan on it being very big, something for all players, multiplay. But again, we can't talk
Oh
too
my
much
God.
about it now.
Jesus.
We're haven't enough to tell you, but we do have details coming in the future. So please look forward to it.
まあ麻雀をね丸ごと入れてしまうようなクレイジーな14開発チームですから、まあ何が来るのかいろいろ予想をしていただければと思います。
Right. I mean, the team is crazy enough to put the full game of Mahjong into 14, so we know that something big is coming.
続いては新コンテンツになります。
All right, the next we're going to introduce a new piece of content that we've been working on.
さて
Mm.
何やらね。
Why does that look like something with
楽しそう
minions?
なイメージがありますね。
You can, from the artwork, you can see that it looks pretty fun and relaxing.
Here you go, Mike.
こちらの、タイトルをですね、無人
Island
島開拓
Sanctuary
と今呼んでおります。
So the title for this,
Is
that
this
we
our
have now is
garrisons?
the Island Sanctuary.
ファイナルフ
This is
ァン
where
タ
you
ジ
go
ー
to play
14の世
FFTCG.
界の中でスローライフを楽しんでいくという新しいコンテンツを今、開発進めております。
We're currently working on this content where Final Fantasy XIV players, adventurers can enjoy a bit of slow living.
ギャザラークラフターをプレイしていなくても楽しむことができます。
And again, this is not just something that is limited to crafters and gatherers. Anyone can play this.
まあもちろんねやってる人にも特典はあるんですけど、みんなプレイできる。
Of course, crafters and gatherers will be able to do different
Lightworks,
types of
thank you for
things
the
here,
follow.
but of course, this is something for everyone.
Cheers and disco lights for you.
動物を飼
Thank you, thank
育
you.
したり、
For example, you might be raising animals.
まあ島を
Animal
開拓してね
raising.
そこ
It
で
is.
取れ
I,
た特産
Yod might be
物
right.
で貿
It's
易をして
Animal
いった
Crossing
り
14.
And maybe cultivating the land of this uninhabited, deserted island, and then taking the fruits of your labor and selling.
Sounds like Animal Crossing.
ミニオンを放し飼いにしたりと、そういった要素満載でスローライフをね楽しむためのコンテンツになっております。
Maybe throwing your minions out there on the range and letting them roam.
Yeah, minions.
コメントで
Yay.
Almost 400 of them just running them,
これね
running
日本
around
人
in
限
the
定のネタ
island.
で申し訳ないんですけど、我々最初の行動
You might crash the game.
Yeah, that's going to be weird. Like, if that's a
Ah,
private
so
instance
the
thing, I
dev team
think
has been
people that are
calling
looking for
this
houses still are going to be
island,
pissed.
Dash
Yeah, I was
Island
gonna say, well,
from
I
a
wonder if
Japanese
this is
TV
like
show.
trying to be a way to like
いや
appease
本当に
those
つまり
people,
そう
but I don't
い
feel
う
like
まあ
it
楽しみ
is.
方できるといいよねみたい
It's
な。
kind of like that, where you take a deserted island and you know,
はい
make it into something that's your own.
まあこちらですね
Taking a
パッチ
deserted
によって
island and
X
making it
シリ
into
ーズ
something that's your
全体を
own.
通じてアップデート
I mean,
し
that
開
if
拓
it's
を
private
進めていくみ
instance,
たいな構想
people
で
waiting
Housing
for houses
2.0
are going to be
進めてますので
pissed.
ほのぼのとファイナルファンタジー14を楽しんでいる皆さんぜひねご期待いただければと思います。
So wait, everybody can
So
have their own
players will be
fucking
able
minion
to enjoy the
island, but not
activities in
everybody
the
can have a
sanctuary throughout
house?
The entirety of the 6.x series.
Server
as we
space,
update
man.
it.
Server
And
space.
so
You
I hope you're
gotta.
looking forward to it and the slow life that it brings.
そして皆さん現在進行形でですねパッチ 5.4 で、非常にねとある地域の復興に努力を捧げてきてくださいました。
Next up is something that I believe you guys are all currently working on.
Ishgard House.
そうです皆さんねイシュガルドの復興に、大
Yeah,
変
the
強く
restoration
尽力してくださ
Being
いました。
completed.
So yes, crafters all over the world have poured their heart into the rebuilding of the firmament and Ishgard restoration.
イシュガルドの民がですね皆さん冒険者の皆さんに感謝の気持ちと
And
して
now
で
it's
すね
time for a fraction of you to get a house there.
居住区を開放したいとおっしゃっております。
And inspired by
You
that
know,
work,
there's no way
there's,
this goes live
the
when
city
the
is-
expansion goes
wants
live.
to present a
No.
new housing
That would be
area
like the biggest
to
mistake.
those that have worked hard to rebuild the firmament.
5.55.
これまで 4.0 の時か
Well,
な
see, the fact that it's in this makes me feel like it's in the
時と同じ
X
で
though.
6.0 がスタート
That's
し
true.
たタイミングで冒険者
Yeah,
標
because
準区の
remember
エリ
they're
ア
going to be talking
6.05?
about 5.5 predominantly on the live
just like
letter.
we have since 4.0.
Yeah.
Yeah,
at
6.05
the
might
release
be.
of 6.0, we
I
will
think.
be opening
Oh,
the
no.
area
Yeah.
for players to go
6.0?
Oh, he said, okay.
ただほらや
He
る
said you
こ
could
と
look
すご
at
い
it.
たく
He
さ
didn't
ん
say
あ
you
る
could
ので
purchase.
まあどの土地にしようかなっていう見学をしてもらってパッチ 6.1 のタイミングで購入できるようにというふうにしていきますのでぜひですね6.0空いてちょっとゲームプレイ落ち着いたらどうしようかなみたいなのを話し合ってもらえればと思います。
So at the launch of 6.0, players can go to the residential area and look around and see what
Get your speed run
might
route.
be a good place to
Yeah.
get a plot of land.
It's kind of like
But
Stormblood.
the actual
Yep.
purchase of that
You
will
could
be
go in there and
available
look
until
around, but you
6.1,
couldn't do
because
anything
again,
with
there's
it.
a lot of
Purchasing in
stuff to do
6.1.
in 6.0 before having to worry about getting that plot of land.
But I'll have my
区
own
画
island. Why would I need a
とかは
house?
他のハウジングエリアと全く同じ数で用意させていただきますしもちろんアパルトメントもございます。
And currently the plan is to have the exact same number of wards as all of the other housing residential districts in Eorzea, as well as having apartments as well.
でまあ、もちろんね全体的にその継続してね土地不足であるというお声たくさん頂戴しているのでそちらの努力も合わせて続けていこうと思います。
And because we understand this is very important for players and a lot of feedback has been given about this, we are continuing our efforts to make sure that there will be enough plots available.
まあ今回ね
No
皆
way.
さんが
No way.
実行していただいたの
Not a chance in
は
hell.
想定外
You
な
just said it's going to
まあ
have the
全くそれ
same
と
number
同
of
じグラフィック
plots
か
as all the other
まあ
ones.
どうなりますかっていう感じではありますけど
Those things are going to
まあ
be
大体イメージ
gone
は掴んでもらえるんじゃないかなと思います。
And whether or not it will be exactly like the firmament that you are currently rebuilding now, that's left to be said, but it will give you a very good idea of what that residential area will look like.
はい。でちょっと駆け足ではあるんですけど今回 6.0 でね実装される、まあ、一部コンテンツのご紹介細かいところはまだまだあるんですけどまた今後ファンフェスでよりね詳しくお伝えできればと思ってます。
All right, so I think we've covered all the types of new content that we can talk about today, though we have lots more to reveal in future shows.
ちょっと大事なですねこの 6.0 からバトルシステムのメンテナンス大きくちょっとね2項目あるのでお伝えしていきたいと思います。
But now we want to talk a little bit about two important updates and adjustments that we'll be making to the battle system.
Actions will be removed. Actions will be added.
同様バトルシステムの細かい調整とかジョブアクションの調整それから各ねジョブに新しいジョブアクションの実装というのは普通にやります。これは普通にやります。
So, as with previous expansions, there will be a fair deal of fine-tuning when it comes to the battle system, as well as job actions and the addition of new actions.
でそれ以外に重要なお知らせが2つあるのでその2つをお伝えさせていただきます。
And so today, the two announcements that I want to make are completely different from that.
まず1つ目。
Oh.
Number squish. This was only a matter of time. I'm actually surprised it hadn't happened already.
They need to,
Yeah.
like, I don't know how much you pay attention to, like, current raid numbers, but crit variance is stupid right now.
In the calculations.
これはですね、以前のライブストリームでも
Like as an Astro, just handing out my cards and hitting my buffs gives me like 6,000 DPS extra.
させていただいてました。
So we have discussed
That's why I said
this.
I'm
I
very
have
surprised
discussed
this one didn't
in
happen with
previous
Shadowbringers.
producer letters.
Yeah.
And today I want to get into a little bit
I
more
think they need to personally change crit, how the way crit
じゃあまあ
works,
どうい
but
う
that's
も
an
の
whole
なのか
other
なんで
thing.
それをやるのかっていうのをちょっとご説明させていただきますね。
So we want to tell you a little bit about what this entails and what it means for you.
まあ新生オルゼアのリリース以降レベルキャップ解放していくたびに
And they're gonna need to change like old content, right?
上がってって
When they squish that, though.
And so since the release of A Realm Reborn, every increase to a job level cap sees an increase to the base job damage.
まあ大きなダメージが出せるっていうのはまあ気持ちいいのは確かに気持ちいい爽快感はあるんですけどパッと見るともう数字が大きくて分かりにくいっていうのと扱う数字が僕ら大きくなるとすごいさまざまな問題っていうのが生まれてきてます。
So, and I understand that it feels great to dish out a lot of damage to enemies, but after a certain point, it becomes very difficult to easily discern the numbers on the screen, as well as the numbers get bigger, the potential for other problems increase on the back end.
まず このデノミネーションさせていただく理由の一つ目なんですけど、バトル計算式は今回変わらないです。メンテナンス調整はあるかもしれないですけど、基本変わらない。これは覚えておいてください。
So here are our reasons for this downscaling.
Yeah,
First
on
thing
the
I
back
want
end,
to
this is
assure
huge.
everyone
For those of you that don't design
Yeah.
software in any
these-
way,
we're not
overflow
changing
at
the
the rate
formulas,
that
we're changing the numbers that go
Shadowbringers has
into the
been
formulas. That is what
experiencing
we're
is a
downscaling.
huge
ちょっと
problem.
これプログラム的なお話になっちゃうんですけど、扱っているその計算式に入ってくる数字の桁が大きくなるとですね、プログラム上オーバーフローって言って数字が一周しちゃうみたいな現象っていうのが起こります。これ。
So this is a programming issue, but what happens a lot of times is when numbers get too big, it can cause overflow and revert things back to different numbers, and that can cause a lot of bugs.
でこれなんとか実は今まで出てきたバグでも何件かこれにもう該当するものが出てるんですけど、なんとか 5.x 期間中は無理やりやってきました。
And we've had these problems in the past in the 510X series, and we've been able to patch them in emergency patches, but it's been just barely.
でこれ以上数値大きくなるとやっぱパケットのサイズ皆さんとの通信
I mean, remember, WoW had been talking about for multiple expansions squishing the numbers, and they just finally got around to actually implementing it in Shadowlands with level squish and
Again,
everything
if
too.
data packets continue to increase in size
Well,
because
they've
of
had
these
two
large numbers,
stat
it can
squishes and now
stress
a level
communication
squish,
loads
right?
to the
Well, they had
server,
stat squishes
and
before. I was
that
talking about
will
the
end up
level squish.
creating
They just got
bugs
around to
and
doing it in
delays in the game,
Shadowlands, yeah.
ruining the experience.
そしてですね、ヘイト計算式というのがもう限界に来ていてですね、扱う数字が大きすぎて、今タンクのヘイトって内部的にはもう100ずっと張り付いてる。
Enmity's reaching its limit. That's not surprising.
位置下げたり上げたりっていうの
Where tanks can no longer hold aggro.
数字ゼロになっちゃったりするので、
Because the calculation's just out of
みん
control.
な対応している状態で動いてるんですけど、
Too
これらも整
many
理させてい
numbers.
ただきたいと思ってます。
Next, we come to like tank enmity, and for example, this has already been pushed to its limits to almost its max, and we're doing our best to put a band-aid on this by temporarily lowering that enmity, but it's creating a lot of problems, and we can see it to the point where it might get so high that it reverts back to zero and creates even more problems.
And then a
それ
boss
からです
goes
ね
crazy
フライテキストの
and
表示
kills
限界
Adam.
数字がたくさん並ぶじゃないですか、バーンって
Oh, that happens all the time.
あれがもう
What's up,
入り乱れ
Glitch?
まくる
How are you?
当然描画領域をすごい食うので、これもちょっと表示限界に来てます。
The next problem is that we have the size of the flying text numbers when you deal damage and the number appears on the screen. These numbers are so large that it takes up a lot of space on the screen, as well as it's starting to affect the graphics rendering.
そしてですね、敵の最大ヒットポイントがめちゃくちゃな数字になっていて
If anybody's done the
これ
Lou
も
review,
もう
their HP
オーバ
in
ー
there
フロ
is
ー
Oh,
の
it's
原因になってしまう
redonkulous in
状態
there.
になってます。
And now with player damage being so high, the
It's
boss
because damage
HP
in there
has
is
seen
kind of like can
an
get kind of absurd if you use
increase.
your
This is causing
actions right.
problems as well.
Yeah, and
ちなみに
essences.
なんですが、パッチ5.5、次に予定しているパッチ5.5に登場するとあるボスの最大ヒットポイント、調べてきました。
So, to prove our point, I'm going to show you the amount of HP that a certain boss coming in
Sounds like an
5.5
ultimate.
has.
Holy-
こちらです。
Wow.
That's a boss we have not seen yet, by the
4
way.
億
Yeah, I'm betting that's
4000
ultimate.
かな。
440 million HP.
この4億4000万をみんなで削
Pretty
り切
sure
る
that boss
光の選手
grinded
た
to
ちも
level
大概
99.
なんで
I'm
すけ
pretty
ど
sure.
Well, I'm sure that the Warriors of Light will be able to get this much HP down.
分かったでまとめてで何どうなんのっていうのを
Just to give you like an idea,
結局どうなるのっていうのをご説明して
when ninjas crit
So,
their
let's talk a
Hyosho,
little
it does
bit
about
them. We know the
250k right
problems
now. So
What are we actually going
on
to
a good
do
like a
to
good crit.
alleviate them?
まず
So
レベル51からレベル80までの数値の差っていうのが
Well, there's their
小さくなり
answer
ま
on
す
why they don't have to
So the
change
first
anything
thing
in a
we're
realm
planning on
reborn,
doing
Adam.
is truncating the character growth from levels 50 to 80.
例えばですけどレベルが一つ上がると適当な数字で言いま
That
す
way they don't have to mess
こ
with
れ
the
まで
leveling
上昇してた
experience.
で
They
そ
don't
の
have to
5%
mess
の
with
積み
the
重ねでどん
leveling
どんプレイヤー
dungeons.
数字でかくなってくるんですけど、それをレベル51から
So is that gonna make sinking down harder then? Or not like sinking down, but like unsinking from those levels? I don't know.
みたいな形の調整をさせていただき
Actually,
ま
it
す。
could, yeah.
Okay, for
So in
example,
theory,
again,
if
the
you were
numbers
like
that I'm going to be giving here are not the exact
55, 60
numbers,
now,
but this is just for an
going and
example.
doing
For example, you
a
have
sink
the
down
amount
into
of
something
progress
level
that you
40.
make, the amount of
If those
that your
numbers
attributes will
from
go up
55
after
to 60
gaining one level. Let's say
decreased,
that it will
but
be
the
plus 5%.
content you were doing was pre-50,
For
and so
levels
had no
50 to 80,
decrease. In
taking
theory,
that
yeah,
from
it should make that
5% up
content
after
a
each
bit
level
more
to,
challenging for you
say,
sinking
1%
down.
up after each level.
Yeah.
まあ特にヒットポイントとか
Should
Now,
still
if you're
probably-
talking about like 80 to 50, then it doesn't matter because both were affected by the squish.
And
Right,
so
right.
this,
It's only everything pre-50,
Right, it's going to
right?
be when you sink
look like
down
it's affecting,
below 50.
Player HP as well
And
as
yeah,
the
I
amount of
remember
damage
like
that
playing
player
Monk at
deals.
level 50 doing
まあ
like
なので
I think it was like
アクション
400
一撃の
DPS
ダ
at
メ
the
ージ
time.
っていうのが
Now you're
これ
doing
まで
like
に比べるとやっぱり数字がちょっと小さくなることになります。
And so what this will appear to look like is that when you deal damage, it will look like your damage has gone down.
でその
Well,
一方で
it
なんです
won't
け
look
ど
like it. It will have.
レベル81から
Yeah.
今回
The numbers are gonna get smaller. You're gonna notice that.
レベル81から90までっていうのはこれまでのと同じ体感の成長度合いじゃないとつまんなくなっちゃうので特に先
I
端
wonder
で
if
いう
that
皆
includes
さんは
health.
ここの割合
Like
成
our
長に
health
感
totals.
じていける割合
Right
Yeah,
now,
I'm
they've just
betting.
talked about damage.
今までと同じ感覚になるようにするので、改めてレベル51から80までをギュッと圧縮して81から90までの成長を感じていく部分っていうところは、今までと同じようなね、成長をね、ギア
Because if it affects our health too, then that like will also affect like shields and there, it gets really complicated.
It does.
That said, again, if we
But
don't
I'm glad they're doing
preserve the sense of growth that one might expect from a new expansion, from that raising of the level cap, that could also be problematic. And so what we want to do is we want to maintain that sense of progression between the levels 81 to 90. So while we would be truncating that progress from levels 50 to 80 and compressing that down from level 81 to 90, we will leave it in a position where it will feel the same as it does for every expansion for those final 10 levels, those new 10 levels.
Okay.
同時にですね、やっぱり経験値の値も今ものすごい数字を扱っているので、経験値のネクストまでの経験値とか、そういった経験値も全体的にギュッて
That
圧
makes
縮します
sense too. Less experience to
point
level,
values
less
are
experience
also
earned.
becoming too large, and so we'll be lowering them as well. And at the same time, we'll be reducing the amount of EXP needed to level up.
なので次のレベルまでに必要な経験値もギュッて減りますけど、敵からもらえる経験値も減るんで、相対的に感覚は変わらないです。
So again, relatively, it'll be the same. It'll be, however, you'll be getting less experience for defeating an enemy, but it will take less experience to level up.
Yep.
まあもちろんね、拡張新しく出てキャップ
Yeah,
上がる
Jedi,
んで
this is
その分
pretty
のなんだろう
standard
レベル
stuff.
アップ
It
し
is
やすさみたい
interesting,
なのはまた
but
調整
it's
していき
pretty
ますけど
standard stuff when you get an
And
MMO
again,
that's
we
had
do,
3,
as
4,
we are
5,
releasing
6
this new expansion, we
expansions.
are, going to make it
The
easier
power
to level
creep,
up,
the
so
same
that
thing that
is
happens in
going to
TCGs,
remain.
where the power
でまあ
creep
当然プレイヤーサイドの
becomes
攻撃力
something that
ダ
you
メージ
can't
とかね
mitigate
ヒットポイント
anymore.
下がるんだからモンスターのヒットポイントやダメージっていうのも当然それに応じて小さくなります。
And again, this is not only for the players, because player HP and attack numbers will be going down.
They're doing a good job
Maybe the same
explaining
for
this,
monsters
though,
as
because
well,
this is
and
something that
so
your
relatively
average
everything
player,
remains the same.
Tark and Adam,
で
they
まあ
don't
結局
understand
どうなるかっていうと、
Yeah.
まあ
upon
プレイヤーが
instantly
弱く
hearing
な
it.
るわけではないですよ
and,
と扱う数字は
Yeah,
小
see,
さくな
that's
りますけ
them
ど
putting that
体
flag
感
up
の
there.
感覚
Oh,
が
so
理
I'm
解して
you're
これに
nerfing
関
me.
しては
You're
変
making
わ
me
りませ
weaker.
ん。
You're
So
taking
what
my
we want everyone
DPS
to remember
down.
is that
You're
this is the character not getting
Yeah.
weaker. The
Yeah,
numbers are
I try to
going
explain
down,
that to people
but
too, because like
relatively
when I
everything is staying
when I
the
was
same.
saying earlier, well, I think like they need to kind of fix crit a little bit. I think
Yeah.
that upsets some players because they're like, oh, I just want to see my numbers get bigger.
Oh yeah,
They don't really
Jedi.
care.
I know you get it. I know you get it, my friend. We've talked to MMOs, you and I in chat enough that I know you get it. But I'm glad that they took the time to go into as much detail as they
There
did
is
there.
one thing, however, that will be slightly affected by this change, and that is playing as undersized parties. For example,
Oh, he's talking about what I was
as
talking
level
about too.
80, going back and playing some of the old content as an undersized party, this may become
Yeah.
more difficult.
ここは
See, I was right.
なんとかそのね遊びとしてその確立してる部分もあるからなんとかしたいとは思ってるんですけど
See, I
今のところ
understand software
これでなん
development,
とかなるだろうみたいなのがちょっとまだ見つかってないので
which is pretty good
ま
since
あ
that's my
なんとか
job.
できる方法があればとは思うんですけどちょっとその 部分に関してはちょっと今のところプレイヤーがねどうしても弱くなってしまう部分かなと思います。ただ普通に制限解除とか関係なく遊んでる分に関しては数字のやり取りが小さくなるだけで別にプレイヤーが弱くなるわけではありませんよっていうのを、ご理解いただければと思います。
Regarding these undersized parties, we understand this is a large portion of what a lot of players enjoy doing, and so we understand that this is still something that we need to address. As to how we're going to address this, we're still in the process of finding that, and so that's something for the future.
Going back to something we talked about pre-show now, because this impacts these solo activities you were talking about, Adam, in going back and pony farming or whatever. Now it's inadvertently being made more challenging, and I'm glad that they said it is something we know people want to do and we're going to have to address, but I'm not happy that they didn't have their answer already here.
Yeah.
同士のファイジャー530のファイジャーでだいたい5万キルぐらいダイレクトもクリティカルも入らなければなんですけどダメージ。
So to give you an example, currently my own player, I'm a black mage at level 80 with item level 530. If I use Fire 4 with no crit and no direct hit, I deal about 50,000 points of damage.
だいたいそれがですね、1万ぐらいかな。
We expect this to go down to about 10,000.
でそこからレベルが上がっていくとまたいつもの拡張のレベル1個ずつ上がっていった強くなった感覚っていうのは、やるのでだいたい5分の1ぐらいだと思ってもらえればと思います。
Of course, this will go up as the level goes up, but think of it as about reduced about 80%, down to about a fifth of what it normally was.
でこれは
Sounds like somewhere in between like Heavensward and Stormblood numbers.
どうしても避けられない。
I think more Heavensward.
今日冒頭ねお話したようにこれからもっともっとファイナルファンタジー14続けていきます。だから今回やったとしてもまた10年ぐらい経つともう1回デノミネーションさせてくださいってタイミングが来てはしまうと思います。でも長く続けていくっていう意思の表れだと思って、ご理解いただけると大変助かります。
As we mentioned at the top of the announcement showcase, is that we expect Final Fantasy XIV to continue for many, many, many years in the future, and to ensure that we can do that.
Also, just another thing, the fact that they're doing this also makes me think that part 2
there's no 14-2 coming.
But again, this is basically we're doing this to show you that we're committed to having the lifespan of Final Fantasy XIV keep going for many, many, many years.
はい。ではもう一つ、システムのお話をします。
Oh, they're removing
One
belt.
more battle system update that we'd like to mention.
That I did not see coming.
Q14 からですね申請した時表
They don't appear on your character.
So it's just a way to axe some numbers without actually having to do anything else.
1.0, we had this item. It was there, and even though it was removed graphically, it remained.
Cool. Easier to get bits. Sounds good to me.
But the time for belts, the belt era, is over.
現状グラフィックスに影
You
響がない
couldn't tell that by the opening trailer.
Yeah, somewhere Nomura
No one
is
needs belts on the moon.
Nomura is crying somewhere.
There were just belts all over the guy in the trailer they showed.
アライアンスレードではもう邪魔だからドロップしないようにしてくれとか言われたんですよね。もうじゃあ今回消そうということになりました。
So again, as you know, belts have no bearing on players' outward appearances. Their stats,
Even the chat say rip Nomura.
is pretty negligible, and they're not. And because of that, they're not a very popular piece of equipment. Yet they take up the same amount of space in our armory chest as other equipment. And we've even had lots of fans ask us to just stop dropping them in alliance raids because we don't need them.
でリングはっていう声もね結構今コメント多いんですけど、
And then a lot of people also complaining, talking about the rings, but
指輪もすごい検討したんですけど、
Just a
See his
bit.
hands?
左右別々のグラフィックスの指輪をつけるっていうことでおしゃれに使ってる人っていうのもいるので。今回は、
I think he might want to, but they actually
regarding rings,
have graphical
while we did
appearances.
Consider
Yeah.
this, we also understand that a lot of players, because you can put them on both hands and you can actually graphically see them on both hands. We decided that we're going to
That's a bigger change.
not do that this time.
Belts just allows them to axe some extra numbers they don't need.
So we need to explain what's going to happen with this removal of belts.
Stats are
まず 6.0 以降、帯防具は装備
Turn in all your
スター
belts
ト
for
になり
seals
ます
before it goes
So
live.
at
No
the
joke.
beginning, at the launch of 6.0, belts will no
Or
longer
decent them.
be equipable.
そして装備中のまま 6.0 を迎えた場合には自動的に外れて遺失物管理人という NPC が預かることになります。
So what happens to any belts that are equipped at the time of that switch over to 6.0? These will automatically be unequipped and moved to a Calamity Salvager.
リテーナーが装備したままとかいうのも全て遺失物管理人に我々移させていただきますので、何かこう無理に急いで準備しなきゃいけないということはないようにさせていただきます。
This includes retainers as well, so there is no need to rush and unequip any belts before that transition to 6.0. Everything will be moved to the Calamity Salvager automatically.
マテリアをね外しておきたいという方は外しておいていただきたいです。
However, materia, if you want to remove materia from it, you should do that.
I see people in the chat talking about the belt that drops in Eureka.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty funny. I didn't think about that.
それからあと交換とかからですね、帯防具一切排出停止となります。
Also, belts will no longer drop from any duties.
Well, I mean, they
and they'll
kind of
be
have to
removed
do
from
this now,
Elegant
though.
Tombstone.
Like while they're doing the stats squish.
じゃあ分かったよ。
Otherwise, because if they did it in the future, then they would have to migrate the minor stats that are on belts into like the pants
Okay, so now
stats.
that we know that
Where
the,
here, since they're
belts are being
reallocating and redoing all the
eliminated,
stats
what
anyway,
happens to those 35
everything will be
slots?
tuned as if you don't have those minor
15枠
belt
を
stats too.
主武器に、そしてもう15枠をリングの方に回してそれぞれを50枠ずつに拡張します。
The plan is currently to take 15 of those 35 empty slots and allocate them to main arms, main weapons. Another 15 will be allocated to rings.
で、おいおい、5枠残ってんじゃねえかよっていうところは、すいません、これからもなんとか枠を拡張していく努力のためにもですね、5枠ちょっと一回リザーブとして僕らに預けてください。
And so there's a lot of people saying, well, wait a minute, 15 plus 15, that's 30. What about the other 5 slots? What's going to happen to those? We're going to take those and we're going to save them for a rainy day in case something happens. So we're going to keep those in reserve for now.
すいません、よろしくお願いします。
Again, they have to do all of that at the same time here.
近づいてきたらね、また詳しくトピックスでお知
Since
らせして
they're
いこうと思い
recalculating all
ま
the
すの
stats to begin
で、
with.
ぜひチェックしておくようにしてください。
We will have a more detailed explanation of the removal of belts in an upcoming
Where's my capes,
topics.
though?
ではですね、そろそろ、今日お伝えできる情報っていうのも、少なくなってきたんですが、ここで、長期的に作ってきた新しいシステムを最後に、お伝えして終わっていこうかなと思ってます。
Right, so we're nearing the end of our announcement showcase, but we have one more system-related thing that we'd like to talk about that we've been working on for a long time.
こちら。
Hey.
デー
Yeah.
タセンタートラベルという仕組みを、現在開発中でございます。
So currently, we're in the development of a new system called the Data Center Travel.
これはですね、今、ファイナルファンタジー14に存在している、ワールドを超えて、別のワールドへ遊びに行く、ワールド間テレポっていう仕組みがありますが、
So now Party Finder is just going to be everybody.
So all of you know about the
At least
current
that's
system that we
what it
have
makes
that
me think.
allows
Like a
players to
server.
move around between worlds called the World Travel System.
それをですね、ちょっと全くそれと同じ機能っていうのはちょっとサーバーの作り的に不可能なので、一旦ログアウトは必要なんですけど、キャラクター選択画面から他のデータセンターへ遊びに行くっていう新しい仕組みを今回
Even then, though,
開
it's still a
発中で
pain
す
in the ass.
So while this
Like,
won't
remember when we
work
were trying
the
to friend
exactly
each
the
other,
same
Adam?
way as the World Visit System,
It's
Yeah.
just like what a
we
pain in
hope
the ass
that
that
it can
is.
be similar.
It was pretty terrible.
Although it will require, again,
I would be
changing the
most like
system
if they're able to do
outside
Party
of the
Finder
game
across
and then
every
logging
world.
back in.
That would be a huge change.
その代わり他のデータセンターへ遊びに行った場合に、
Because then
フリーカンパニー
you
と
no
か
longer will you
リンクシェ
have
アのチャ
like
ットができない
raiding
という
servers
ちょ
or
っと
whatever. Everybody can join
ワー
everybody's
ルドカンテ
party.
レポよ
Like
り
Party
は
Finder
制
would
限が
be
強いんです
really
けど
great.
友達に会いに行ってパーティーを組んでコンテンツ行くみたいなことっていうのはできるので、また改めて詳細にできることできないことっていうのの一覧がまとまったら皆さんにお伝えしていこうと思います。何はともあれデータセンターを超えて友達のところへ遊びに行けるシステムだと思ってください。
And so there will be a lot of restrictions with this, possibly even more than there are currently with the World Visit System. However, this will allow players to move freely to other data centers temporarily and party up with their friends, take screenshots, have a lot of fun.
I don't like to hear that.
Yeah, that was sketchy.
That didn't involve raiding or doing instant
Yep,
share.
you're not going to be able to run dungeons or do instance content, I think is what's going to happen there.
Yeah, sorry, Sticks.
So there are some people that might be worried about what effect this might have on data center and world economies. There was the same worry back when
they're just not going to allow trading.
We started the world visit system as well, but it turns out that the change, the effect was negligible. And of course, we're going to be doing some simulations to make sure that that's the case here, but we don't feel that it will affect.
Yeah, I think you just have the same limitations on it that you have now.
Yeah.
No trading, auction house can't be
まあ
used.
大体これですね。ようやく終わりが見えたかな。
All right, so I think that is pretty much all that we have today. Pretty much.
That means there's one more
ちょっと
thing.
待って待って。
Hold on.
Yep,
Hold
here we
on.
go.
よ
なんか知ってる人の声する。
I think I've heard that voice before.
The president.
もう
Playing the
一
gold
つ
saucer thing.
何かですね、皆さんにお知らせ
I
して
love
ない
when
こと
they
があ
do
るんじゃ
this.
ない
Like,
の
it's so scripted and cheesy, but I still
Something
grin.
important to tell our
Eh?
players?
重要なお知らせですよ、重要なお知らせ。
Something really important.
社長。
It's the CEO.
はい、あれを表示して。これ
Show it on the
よろしく
screen.
お願いします。
There we go. There it is.
There you go.
Another.
There it is.
ああ、また。
Look, there's more space
Okay.
on that slide.
PS5、
There's
That sounds like a
Either
date.
date or
there's
Xbox.
more space on that slide.
It's a date. It's a date. It's not Xbox.
4月13日から
Okay.
開始します。
Yeah.
Sure.
So the Final Fantasy XIV PlayStation 5 version open beta
Nice.
will begin on Tuesday, April 13th.
いや、ねえじゃないですよ。
Yeah.
So we
What's
were
going
right
on?
about that one.
いよいよ
And we got the
PS5 版
announcement
の
and that there would be a
PS5 版
date.
のオープンベータが開始します。
Yes, the PlayStation 5 version open beta will begin soon.
I feel like that beta is going to be really close
And
to
this is
5.5.
same
the
day
patch.
as the next patch.
Oh, same day. He just said same day.
Yep.
No, you can't say that.
He gave him the 5.5 release
言
date.
ってないですよ。
I
パ
have-
ッチ5.5の日
Cool. So I know when my ultimate comes out. It works out for me.
We haven't mentioned the release date for 5.5 yet.
Yeah, you have now.
ああ、そう。
You have now.
まあだけど、まあ
You spoiled
いいよね
Oh, it's okay, right?
同じ日です。
So
同じ日
it's
にや
on
り
the
ますよ
same day.
同じ日にやります。
あーまあちょっと
Well,
まあ
we
ち
know
ょ
when
っと
to
準備を一生懸命やってきた
Plan our
PS5
vacations for Ultimate.
I
But
mean,
that's
we've
that's
been-
my
we've been
birthday
working on
weekend.
it, yes,
So
Word.
works
そ
for
れと
me.
もう一つね、
え
大事な、せっかくだから、ね、PS5 版の動画
Well,
を
it's the
持って
week
きた
after
の
my
で、
birthday.
ぜひ
Actually.
皆さんに見てもらいましょうよ。
I actually brought some footage
Eh?
from this PlayStation 5 version.
はい、じゃあ流してください。お願いします。
Play the video.
Is this really going to look any different?
I mean, not really when compared to the PC version.
Cool. See cinematics. All right.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite tracks in this game, though.
Oh yeah, it's killer. The song for the trailer was awesome. I already experienced fast loading times.
I mean, I'm gonna get it. I have it on.
ああしかもパワポ用
Yeah.
Now, are they gonna offer the
Oh, and
free
you can
upgrade
get
from
the
PS4
PowerPoint.
or
Better.
because
I heard
4
it's
is
quite
running?
amazing.
いやいやいやいや
Yeah.
Like 3 to 4, they
It
gave
is
it because they
amazing, but-
wanted you off the
じ
fucking
ゃあ
3.
パワポ出ちゃってるんで僕からちょっとざっくり説明させていただこうと思い
Okay,
ます
since we have
はい、
here to
よ
have
ろ
a
しくお願いしま
PowerPoint,
す。
let's go and talk about it.
まずですね今回
Since we appear to have a
PS5
PowerPoint.
4K ネイティブ対応させていただいております
Further graphical
First off,
improvements will be made to the
the
game in
PlayStation 5 version will
subsequent
be featuring
updates.
full 4K resolution support.
そしてね今ちょっと動画の方でもご覧いただきましたがあれまあ PS5 版そのものからキャプチャーしている映像になりますが
Yeah, I think that'll be
まあ超
interesting if
高
they're
速度の
gonna
PS5 売りですね
offer a free upgrade or
さっきの
not on this
あれ
one, because
実
this
測タイプ
isn't
な
a
ので
game that came
あ
out
の
you know, 3 months before the PS5 came out.
So the video,
They gave it for
that
free
you
from
just saw,
3
that
to
was
4, but
actual,
they really
PlayStation
wanted you
5
off the
footage.
fucking
And
3
so,
at that
you
time.
saw there the teleport and the quick loading time on the teleport. That is, again, one of the PlayStation 5's main selling points. That is the actual speed at which players will be able to
Nice.
teleport.
That was
そ
that
して
was
ですね
quick.
フレームレート、当然ですね PS5 の、性能非常にパワフルなのでそれを生かしてですねフレームレートを大幅向上させていただいてます。
As you know, the PlayStation 5 is an extremely powerful system, and that will help us significantly improve the frame rate for the PlayStation 5 version.
ですので今回、用途に分けてまたオプション設定増やしていこうと思うんですが PS5 の場合はもう 4K でとにかくグラフィックス至上主義で遊びたいよっていうモードと
So currently we're planning to have 2 different modes for the PlayStation 5 version. One mode being the 4K version, where those players that want to play Final Fantasy XIV at its most beautiful.
2K とか解像度を下げてもいいからとにかくフレームレート爆速でド安定で遊びたいんだっていう人の、モードとこれ、リアルタイムにスイッチできるんで切り替えてお好みで遊んでいただければと思います。
And then a second mode that we have planned is our full HD 2K mode that focuses more on frame rate and optimizing that frame rate. And players will be able to go into config and change that
Makes
in real
sense.
time in the PlayStation 5 version.
Frame rate is king.
PS4 版発売された時も覚えてらっしゃる方いらっしゃると思うんですがパッチを当てるたびにですね PS5 バージョンに PS5 ならではの特性を入れたアップデートっていうのも行っていく予定です。
And as we did when we first released our PlayStation 4 version, we plan on continuing to make improvements to the PlayStation 5 version over a series of patches.
はい、そんな感じです。
So yeah, that's about it.
で、お値段は
And what's the price going to be?
お値段これどうなの
じゃあちょっとちょっとじゃあ僕から社長に1個お願いがあるんですけどいいですか
Okay.
いいですよ。
So
go ahead.
I have something to ask of you since you're here today.
僕としてはちょっと
Free?
こうしたいっていうのがあるのでちょっと見ていただきたいです。
Okay, so this is what I want to do, and I want you to take a look at this and see if it's okay.
ファイナルファンタジー14の
Yeah,
PS4
free.
版のプレイ権をお持ちの方。
As long as you have a PS4.
Yeah.
Copy.
Yeah.
まあ
Which I expect.
It's
If they were going to do this, then
た
yeah.
だもう月額課金
And in
払って
7.0 they'll
くれてるなら
discontinue the
もう
PlayStation 4,
そのまま PS5 で遊べちゃっていいんじゃないですかっていう
Yeah, but the 4 is not
風に
anywhere
したいんですけど
near the end of its
So
life like the
basically what I
PS3
want
was.
to do is that anyone that has a registered license for the PlayStation 4 version,
That-
I want them to play the beta version, and once the beta version ends and we begin our official service, as long as you're paying that monthly fee, to be able to upgrade immediately to the PlayStation 5 version.
だから簡単に言うと今 PS4 で遊んでる皆さんはそのまま PS5 でも遊べちゃいい簡単に言うとそういう風にしたいんですけど
And I mean, if you don't play, you're
And
going to
I want,
have
the players to be
a
able
Realm
to-
Reborn
those
and
playing the
Heavensward for
PS4
free
version to be
anyway.
able to basically, move over to that PlayStation 5 version without having to do anything.
ああ、それはだけどいいアイデアだね。
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
ね、皆さんのためですから、ぜひこれでいきましょ
So it's for our players. Let's go with this.
う。ね、
社長太っ腹
Thank you.
ね、これもうぜひ、
It's so
皆さんのため
cheesy.
にぜひ、PS5 版、試してプレイしてみてください。よろしくお願いします。
Yes, so we are doing this for our players. Please look forward to the PlayStation 5 version.
すごい社長を持ち上げる声がすごいですよ
お
いやこれというわけで今私決済取れましたんで
Exactly, Q.
PS4 版のお持ちの方は追加のもう費用なく
Can we do this thing you
PS5
totally
版に
approved
もうアップ
already?
グレードしていただけるというふうに確約取れましたんでもうそれでいこうと思います
So you heard it here. We got permission from the CEO himself. Those who have the PS4 version and that registered license will be able to upgrade to the PS5 version without any charge.
なので今 PS4 版の権利をお持ちの方はもう PS5
That's why I said,
版の
Yad,
Final
it's so
Fantasy
cheesy when they do this because you know it's all scripted and everything. But both Yoshi P and the president, they do it perfectly. Like it is absolutely delightful. Like I've been sitting here watching this with a stupid grin on my face, like I'm 8 years old.
You won't need to buy the PlayStation
I don't
5
even really
package,
care
but
about
you'll
what they're
still need to
announcing.
try to
Yeah,
find
I'll
a
upgrade,
PlayStation
but
5.
はい。まあ、PS5 にね、合わせたグラフィックスのさらなる機能の追加とかっていうのは、
They
順次
do.
アップデートしてい
They banter
きます
very
ので、
well.
そちらも楽しみにお待ちいただければと思います。
And as we mentioned before, we plan to continue updates to the PlayStation 5 version, improving graphics, improving performance with future patches.
ではですね、そんな太っ腹な、社長からですね、世界中の光の戦士の皆さんに一言ぜひね、ご挨拶を改めてお願いしま
So
す。
let's get a few words from our CEO before he leaves.
はい、改めまして、皆さんこんにちは。スクエアエニックスの松田です。
Hello, everyone. This is Yosuke Matsuda from Square Enix.
今日はファイナルファンタジー14新情報発表会ご視聴いただきありがとうございます。
Thank you very much for tuning in to Final Fantasy XIV Announcement Showcase.
ここまでいろいろなたくさんの情報がありましたが、今のPS5 のオープンベータ、それからまだこれからもまた情報があるようですので、ぜひ最後まで、楽しんで、ご覧ください。
Well, as you saw today, including this PlayStation 5 version, a lot of new information was revealed today. Please enjoy to the very end of this presentation.
そして、ファイナルファンタジー14、皆様のおかげで10年ここまでやってこれました。本当にありがとうございます。
And Final Fantasy XIV has managed to continue for 10 long years thanks to you, all the players around the world.
そして、吉田が先ほど言いましたように、彼はこれからもファイナルファンタジー14を聞いていきます。
you're so right.
そして開発チーム一同ゲームをもっともっと盛り上げていきますので、ぜひこれからもファイナルファンタジー14をよろしくお願いいたします。ありがとうございました。
And as Yoshida himself mentioned, he will keep working on this title. He will keep leading this title, and the development team will keep working hard to make more progress in this game. So please look forward to it.
はい、スクエアエニックス代表取締役社長の松田洋介でした。社長ありがとうございました。
はい、ありがとうございました。
Thank you.
Yosuke Matsuda, our president and CEO of Square Enix.
ふう、やれやれ。発表され
And
て
now
ね
Yoshi P pretends to be
しまいましたけど
exasperated.
PlayStation 5版もぜひ
He's
楽
so
しみにして
exhausted.
ください。
I can't
Yeah, we
believe
weren't
he came up
expecting
here and
to
did
announce
that.
today, but we will be releasing the PlayStation 5
feel like they're gonna
version
show
very
one more
soon,
thing.
so please
Yeah.
look forward to it.
まあ、オープンベータとかね、詳しい詳細またトピックスでお知らせしていきます。基本的には本体持ってればすぐに遊べるとイメージしておいてもらえれば大丈夫かと思います。
More information about the open beta will be revealed in an upcoming topics. But long story short, if you have that PlayStation 4 version and the PlayStation 5, you'll be able to play it almost immediately once the beta begins.
すみません、ちょっと時間をオーバーし気味ですが、本日
Did
の
they
新
kill
情報
WoW
発表会はここまでとさせてください。ただ、まだまだ隠しネタが存在する行月のフィナーレ、エンドウォーカーですが、次の情報公開、ファンフェスで行っていこうと思います。
All right, and so we're already over our time limit here, and while we still have a lot of information to talk about, we're going to leave that for future events and the fan festival. So we have one more thing to show you.
こちら。2021年5月15日、16日、2日間で行う
Save the
Around
date.
the World と題して全世界グローバルに向けたデジタルファンフェスティバルをやっていきます。
That's not really a
So our final
surprise,
announcement
Yoshi
today
P.
is
We
about
knew it
the
was in
Final Fantasy
mid-May.
Fan
Come
Festival
on.
2001, our digital fan
End on a
festival
different
around
note.
the world,
End on a
which we
different
held
note.
on May 15th and 16th this year.
まあ、いつものファンフェス通り2日間丸14尽くしの、ファンフェスをやっていこうと思います。もちろん、音楽のステージも2日間しっかり用意してやっていこうと思ってます。
And just like all of our live Final Fantasy fan festivals, we plan to have 2 days full of content, including live
Cool.
concerts.
で、まあもちろんデジタルなので全世界
I
に
wonder if they're
配
gonna do
信
what
もしますし、
BlizzCon did, though, and make
可能
it
であればね
free.
リアルで集まってもらえる方には来てもらうっていう
Oh, you're
のを考
paying
え
for
た
that
いです
minion.
し僕らも そこだけじゃなくてちょっとねゲームの中でもみたいな感じ
Like
で
BlizzCon
丸
when
2
they
日間
switched it to just
モニター
online
とか
made it
ゲー
free.
ムを通して14を楽しめるフ
I
ァンフェ
hope
ス
it's
をやってい
free.
きたい
I
と
think
思い
they'll
ます
do the same thing.
And while we're planning to have this
Well, the last
festival,
FanFest, the digital
again,
was free, right?
Online.
Oh, that'll.
No.
Well, I
players all
think
around
you
the
could
world
watch
can
parts of
attend.
it free,
Yeah,
but if you
parts.
wanted like
Possibly
If you wanted
package-
like the
players that are
package and
here
all the
can
extra
might be
stuff,
able to attend
you had
in
to
person.
pay.
We'll see if that
Gotcha.
is allowed.
Yeah, I think the only thing you got for
But we
free
want to
was
have
like the
full
live
2
letter
days
and stuff like
filled
that.
with a Final Fantasy experience packed with content. Have it feel like an
Yeah, and
in-game
Q,
type
I'd be
of
okay
event.
with that if there was like a side
そして
package
です
where you could
ね
pay for some,
ライブスト
you
リー
know,
ムで
the
世界中に
in-game
と
goodies and
言いま
stuff
した
like
で
Blizz
すの
did.
でもうすべて
There you go,
音楽コン
free.
テンツも
Yep,
含めて
nice.
今回は
Yep, everything.
すべて無料で視聴していただけるようにします
And so, because again, it is going to be online, we want to tell everyone that this stream, in its entirety, including the concert, will be free.
All of it. Nice.
まあもちろんだからまあ
Now, Q, if they
プライマ
want
ル
like
なのかな
Blizz
ま
did,
あ
if they
そうい
want
っ
to
た
like
音
here's some
楽
mounts
ステ
and
ージとか
minions
も
for
スト
$20
リー
bucks
ム無料でお
to
届け
just to
していこう
celebrate.
と
You
思
want
っ
to
て
buy
ま
it?
す
I'm
So
totally
a lot of
cool with
people
that.
out there are thinking there'll be, for example, a Primals concert. If there is, it will be streamed live for free.
まあ、ただちょっと注意点音楽にはいろんなゲストの方とかいらっしゃるのでアーカイブからは映像がね残らないようにするかもしれないのでぜひですねリアルタイムに視聴していただけると大変助かります。
Hopefully, Odd.
Just one thing, though, about the live performances, because it does involve people that are not affiliated with Square Enix, there is a chance that after the stream, while the stream is free, after the stream, it might not be archived. So make sure that you catch the stream in real time.
That makes sense.
なんかコメントでですね太っ腹すぎて心配なんだよなって
They're worried that we're giving too much.
金払ってもいいんだぞって書いてくださっ
Some
てる方
people
が
are
いるん
even
です。
saying that, oh, we're willing to
Give
pay.
more.
そういった方はですねぜひこのファンフェス記念アイテムを購入していただけると助かります。
So those of you who are willing to pay, we have something for you to pay for
Oh
if
my
you like.
God.
Confirmed.
Yes!
We're going up to the moon on
Lunar
a whale.
mount.
This is-
Fuck
this is not
yes.
required. This is if you would like it.
Well,
We're
that means
going up to the moon on a whale.
That means
that
we're
means
not
you're not
story-wise using it.
That's what I'm saying. It's not gonna be in the story if they're putting it as a mount, I feel.
God damn it.
Yeah, cutie boy, I'm the same thing. Fucking take it right now. Can I buy
It's
it
just
right
crazy.
now?
You can buy the other
Just
whale
remember
mount
with
instead of be
our
the
last
same
Fan
model,
Festival,
just lunar.
we had
I don't
clouds,
I-
by
I-
Fenrir.
I-
For this digital fan
It looks
festival,
cool,
we're
though.
planning
It
to
looks
have
cool.
this mount, the lunar whale.
まあ天野先生のね昔のデザインをちょっと再現しております。
We're actually used Yoshitaka Amano's original artwork as a base for this design.
Nice.
ちょっとこちらですねいち早く完成しているので動画をお持ちしました。
Actually, this has already been completed, and so we have
Sweet.
a video to show you. Take a look at it.
Oh, it has like it's legit its own trailer.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Oh, it plays the Final Fantasy IV theme.
Yep.
Oh,
Awesome.
that's cool. That's dope. The theme is cool.
This is now my primary mount.
I got my credit card right here. Just
It's gonna be a 4-seater.
Ready.
look at
Oh my
this.
God, it's
Where do I-
What?
It has 7 seats on it.
7 seats.
Yes.
Oh, 8. One for
Wait,
one for
eight
you, and then
The whole
7 for
rage
your
team.
friends.
Guys, we're going map hunting. I'll drive. A fleet of whales.
Eight-seater mount. Fuck yes. Seats double the 15
That's pretty
limo.
cool.
はい、
Yeah.
いかがだったでしょうか。ファイナルファンタジー14初のついに
The
8人乗り
regalia
マウントの
from
登場でございます。
So, as you saw in the video, this is Final Fantasy XIV's first ever 8-person mount.
はい。
$30.
Now you know why they had to
It's
squish the
more than
stats.
ござい
They-
ます。
It's gonna be
We
more
also
than
have
30.
one more
right?
type
Oh, there's your
of,
minions.
There's my
there you go.
minions.
Oh,
All
hell yeah.
今
FF4.
回ね、行月のフィナーレエンドウォーカーが
That goes right there with,
ということで、ファイナルファンタジー4の
We have Cecil, right?
I feel like this is gonna be
い
50
ろいろ
bucks,
期待
right?
できるか
50
なと思うんで
bucks?
すが、その4から
I feel-
リニューアル
No.
してエッジ、
You don't think so?
リディアの
No, probably
リニューアル
30.
がファンフェス記念として
The
発売
mount
となります。
30 to
I feel like
And
35.
because a big part of the Endwalker
They actually
story
haven't
is
been
on the
all
moon,
that
we
bad.
decided to
but
go
they-
the route of Final Fantasy IV,
They've
which
been
also
like
took
what
place,
20 to
somewhat on the
25,
moon,
but
and
you'd end
take
up buying
characters from
3
that,
of
create
them.
minions from them. We have
Yeah,
Edge,
but for
Rosa,
the
and
minions, right?
Right.
Well, like, for example,
no,
like,
maybe you're
cash-
right. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
now,
Is it
now
the
thinking
cash
about it, they
option?
would do the
Yeah.
same thing, except they would divide it into 3 purchases, one for
We
each
plan
fan
to have them
fest.
available for
Yep.
purchase on the same day. That first
I mean, it might
day
be
of the Final
$30
Fantasy
would
Fan
be
Festival
probably really
on
good,
May
but I
15th.
All right,
feel
so
like
it's not
gonna be
available until May
はい、
15th.
ファンフェスの情報もね、今日この後の PL とか
Damn
でま
it.
たちょっと触れてい
Take
こう
my
と思い
money
ま
now.
す。
Regarding the fan festival, we have a little bit more information to give you, and we plan on doing that in the letter from the producer live that is coming up after this showcase.
さてすいません、ちょっと時間オーバーしてしまいましたが、これで今日お伝えできる内容はすべて出し切りました。
And with that, we are way over our time limit, but I think we're finally finished with today's showcase.
いやー、講師大変だったね、ごめんね。
That was, yeah, it's okay.
いやー、皆さんも本当にありがとうございます。
Thank you very much.
それではですね、ハイデリンゾディアーク編のその衝撃のラスト、ぜひそれをですね、震えてお待ちいただけたらと思います。
With Endwalker, we're finally approaching the climax of the story of Hydaelyn and Zodiark, so please look forward to it.
Oh, snap.
That's the original 2.0 box art.
もう最後にちょっとね、これ補足ですが、天野先生、天野義孝先生に書いていただいた今回のエンドウォーカーのイメージイラスト。
And so this is actually the last thing that we have. Here's some artwork that we had
Oh, the
especially
top
created
half,
for
yeah,
us
yeah.
by
That's
the master
awesome.
Yoshitaka Amano.
まあどちらが善でもどちらが悪でもないと、天地、逆にもできるようなデザインでぜひお願いしますというので、結構無茶な僕ね注文天野先生にお願いしたんですけど。
So when we went to Amano Sensei to ask him to create this for us, we told him that we wanted something that was, whether you looked at it from the top or the bottom, it would be you could have a different sort of image, that there is no good, there is no bad, there is no dark, there is no light. And I think he did a really good job.
まあぜひですね、このアートにも仕掛けいろいろあります。
Put that on the canvas and hang it on my wall.
見るとまたちょっと印象変わるのかなとも思いますんで、ぜひこれらも含めて全力でこれから、進めていこうと思いますので、
Fortunately,
ど
I
うぞ
probably have to go
楽
on
しみ
the
に
Square Enix
は
website
い。
for that.
In
And
this
that's just...
illustration, there's a lot of
wanna see the price of
stuff
that
hidden
painting.
about the story.
Yeah, God.
You could take a look at it now and speculate. We also would like you to maybe take another look at it after you've completed the story, and it'll take on a different light and show you things that maybe
Dun,
you
dun,
didn't see
dun.
before. So we really enjoy the art and hope you do too.
改めまして全世界の光の戦士の皆さん、本当に長い時間最後までご視聴ありがとうございました。
All right, to all of our warriors of light watching us from around the world, thank you for staying with us for so long.
ただしこの後日本時間午後3時から今度はプロデュースされたライブがございますので、そちらでまた後ほどお会いしましょう。
But we're not done yet because in just a couple hours at 3 o'clock Japan Standard Time, we have the letter from the producer live where we talk all about 5.5.
はい、ありがとうございました。
See you then.
All right, gentlemen.
Awesome.
There it is. About 2 hours, so we were kind of right on that. We all thought it was going to be around an hour and a half-ish. So let's kind of run the big ones, right? Endwalker, the name, not Forspoken. So we got that one wrong.
Not Forspoken.
Healer and a DPS, although we all leaned range DPS, except Tark kind of speculated possibly melee. Ends up getting that one. We got the healer right. We got the melee one. We got the DPS part right. We'll give Tark like half credit for calling out.
Yeah,
maybe
I was more.
Yeah, you were more.
I was more
Maybe
leaning
they
caster.
could do melee, but I think it's gonna be a caster. But you did say maybe they do melee. I just think kind of like I'm gonna take credit if Necromancer is the second class because I said my heart wants Necromancer, but I think they'll go a different way. So I'll take half a point if it ends up being Necromancer. So we'll give you half a point there.
Okay. All right.
Sage, which I think is kind of a cop-out myself. Like, I feel like they didn't want to commit to that being a familiar job, and so they took a generic job and took their own spin on it. I really think they could have called that Rune Fencer, and I don't think anybody would have had a problem with that being 14's interpretation of the Rune Fencer, Kronos.
Sure.
I think you should make it its own name, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, don't even.
Yeah,
just
if
be
you're
like
gonna
Matt
go, yeah,
Mac.
I'm disappointed with Sage. Just the
Yeah,
name.
I think they bad to name. It felt like.
It feels more Dragon Questy than Final
Yeah.
Fantasy, but
all in all, before we get into anything, those were like the biggies, obviously. Before we get into anything else, what was your feeling on the announcement showcase itself? Did it meet your expectations, not meet your expectations? What are you feeling, Adam?
I feel like it was pretty close to what I said it was going to be initially, right? I think I said one job, and they would tease the second one with the shirt, which you did. We don't know what it is. They showed the areas, like the art. We got the name. We got the rough date. This is basically what I expected. I did temper myself a little bit because I didn't want to make sure, like, I thought it was going to be everything, like a blanket. And there was no way they were going to show the end trailer, right? Because of story spoilers. So,
yeah.
Right.
So it's about what I expected, I think. I mean, I'm hyped for it, but it's about what I expected.
What about you, Tark?
Oh, you know me. I went overboard. I was like, oh, they're gonna give us everything,
Right.
and yeah, they didn't, which I'm fine with. And I guess I didn't realize that they did have that May announcement that they hadn't put out there quite yet when I was making my initial predictions. But I'm happy with everything they revealed, and I can't wait for May.
Yeah, obviously I'm super stoked about everything that was in it. I'm going to say that I was actually a little disappointed by the announcement showcase. Not that it not that the information itself that was given disappoints me. I am super stoked for this. I'm all over it, but that's not surprising. All three of us were going to be all over this no matter what it was. We're nuts when it comes to Final Fantasy XIV. Look at my shelves. Final Fantasy in general when you look at my shelves. So, yeah, I'm not disappointed in anything they announced. I'm disappointed in the presentation. It seemed like there was an awful lot of, we're going to do this. We can't talk about it, though. We're going to do this. Can't talk about it, though. We're going to make islands. What it means? Fucking wait. We're going to make these changes. What do they mean? Fucking wait. I'm not surprised that they made us wait on like the second class. Like that seemed, when we talked about it on the show, I was kind of right in between both of you, maybe a little more towards Kronos's, they're probably not going to give us all those things. So I'm not surprised that they did, but there was so much other stuff like the island stuff, the gold saucer stuff, even the battle system changes. They said we're making a lot of them, but we only want to talk about 2 right now because we can't talk about the rest without spoiling things. There was just a lot of you're gonna have to wait. So I'm a little disappointed in that. Jedi happy that the big announcement wasn't a mobile version of the game. We did not get an Xbox announcement, so you two right on that one. I'm wrong on that one. We all called PS5 announcement. And right before the show, if you weren't joining us, we called that they were probably going to give a date on it. They did. We absolutely nailed fall 2021. In fact, those were our exact words pre-show. Yeah. Are you going to get a date or how are they going to do it? Nope, it's going to say fall 2021. We nailed that. So now they did tease some other stuff. Obviously, we're going to the moon. Tark, you called that in a show. So like we did well as a collective. I think we did very, very well. They did tease some other things. Like they gave us one of the beast tribes, right? They didn't give us the other one. Mm-hmm. But they referenced the moon a couple of times, and even talking about a monster we may see there or a boss that we may see there. And then they stopped short in talking about it. So if we go back to those, like Zemus from Final Fantasy IV is a Lunarian. So maybe Zemus is a boss of some type. Yod saying Space Whale Tribe. No, but the
Lunarians.
Well, not just the Lunarians. The bunny people, the Hummingways, is actually a tribe that was from the moon. Yeah. The ones that renamed you, remember?
I can see
naming ways.
So,
Hummingways,
so I think the Hummingways might be the other beast tribe, Kronos.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good call out. I mean, we don't know, but I think that's a good, I think it's going to be something related there, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like they're going to pull from some Final Fantasy IV type stuff, so it makes sense.
I'd love to see Zemus, yeah. I don't think you're going to see Zeromus, because that was what? Final Fantasy XII was Zeromus. I think you'd see Zemus.
No, that was 4. It was the final form of Zemus.
Yeah, Zemus is final form.
Yeah, final form. But I think you're more likely to see Zemus than Zeromus. If they're going to go with like
Either way, it's the
humanoid,
same.
either way, I'm going to be happy to see it.
50% over or under, we get Fusoya.
I don't think we get that.
I think
I'm gonna go.
I'm going to go under. I'm going to say 0.
Yeah.
Ah.
You might get like a nod to him, but like kind of like how Heian's a nod to Cyan.
Yeah, that's one thing that the game has been very, very careful not to do. To put
Transfer
named characters that aren't just monsters.
I feel like they only did it with Evilise, and I kind of didn't like it that much. Yep. So
yeah, Gabranth and...
Oh yeah, true. They've done it with Gabranth and Fran, but that's all Evilise related stuff,
Yeah.
right? Even Boz kind of related to them. So.
What is it? Pandemonium
no
is the raid tier. Looks Asian related.
Pandemonium, so Asian/9 related.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean it's an area in 9, so I think you're gonna get like some kind of stuff there.
Yeah, I mean I'm super stoked. I'm super stoked for it. I wish they would have shown more here, but I have a feeling if they would have gone balls to the walls, I'd still be saying I wish they would have showed more. Just because that's the nature of being a fan, right?
Yep.
You're disappointed it has nothing to do with pandas. You, my friend, are a terrible person.
And elephant people. It's close, right?
Yeah, it's close. It's close.
I think that's going to be, because I just thought about it too, because they usually show the Beast Tribe and the Primal that comes from it, so Animus probably their Primal, right? Don't they typically do that?
Yeah.
Because the fairies were Titania. That was the first one they showed in Shadowbringers,
Right.
and then the Nanta were Lakshmi.
And then the Sylph with Ramu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We saw Anima. That art looked amazing.
I'm excited for that.
That's going to be awesome.
Got the original artist from 10 to rework that design just a little bit to make it 14-ish while still maintaining a lot of 10. That was very nice.
It kills you with the power of migraines.
All in all, good stuff. Who do we think that second class is? That second job?
God, I've seen the theories on Reddit and stuff, but go ahead.
Go for it.
A melee necromancer?
Well, I think if they do something like that, again, which I would love, but I don't actually think they're going to do, I think the excuse becomes that your character isn't necessarily the one doing the melee, but it is melee damage by sending, undead or whatever in. Just off the top of my head, a way you could do it. I don't think that's likely, as much as I would like it. You do have his shirt. Take it for what it is. I was doing research in real time. That's a Japanese brand called Neighborhood Tabloid. That's their 2 series. That specific shirt. So take it for what it's worth there. What do you think, Adam, or what are you reading already?
I did a little bit more research to like the
okay.
And I think he's trying to throw you off a little bit with Necromancer. I think he's trying to get people thinking that way because he knows that people have been saying that.
And he's done that with other shirts too, where I see how it relates now, but at the time I thought it was this.
But I think so. Apparently, like the apparel has a lot to deal with like skull and crossbones type deal. So some people are leaning toward like pirate corsair now, toward that.
Yeah,
which I could see that maybe being an option.
Yep.
Because if it's like a corsair, they're going to use like a blade, which is melee.
And we talked about using that class as kind of the opposite of a red mage when we've done the relic grind before, where it's predominantly melee but can kick back for a ranged attack, where red mage is predominantly ranged but can kick in for a melee attack. So that, again, all things we've kind of talked about. In fact, we've specifically talked about pirate and corsair. What they didn't talk about at all, zero, a couple of these things. I'll throw them out there. You guys tell me what you think. Are they coming? Are they going to be talked about in May, or are they not making it at all? What we didn't hear anything about was a limited class.
I think they just didn't announce it yet.
Yeah, because they're probably going to be in the 5.5, so no live letter, so stay tuned for that.
We didn't hear a single thing about Hildebrand, although he was jokingly mentioned.
Yes.
As far as the Alliance raid being Hildebrand related. What is a limited class? The class is like Blue Mage, where you can't do certain things with them, Jedi.
Yeah, they're never max level, and they have like kind of content.
We did get the release date for 5.5. That'll coincide with the PlayStation 5 open beta in April 13th. April 13th. Yeah, where you can't do anything. Exactly. April 13th. So if they're going to do another limited class, we all assume it would be 5.5, but that's 2 months away. And I don't remember, like, didn't we know about Blue Mage a lot earlier than just 2 months before it was released? I feel like we knew about Blue Mage coming for a while.
Didn't Blue Mage get revealed at a fan fest?
I think it did. I don't think it was the first one. It was either the second or the third of that series.
Yeah, I think it was like the last one.
So it was close. And then they went into detail, in the live letter.
Yeah, because I want to say it was revealed at a fan fest, and then they did it. They like showed more of it at the live letter, and then revealed that it was going to be released in like a patch.
Now, obviously, chat, we're going to take some time to ruminate on these things, right? And we will be doing a show next week. It'll be on Wednesday night instead of its normal Thursday night. So make sure you're following the Twitch channel here and on Twitter and Facebook and everything, so that you remember. It'll be next Wednesday. There will be no show Thursday and no Gaming Gumbo that Saturday. I'll be out of town for my 40th birthday. So we'll be doing the show Wednesday night. We'll have special guest Brian, a.k.a. Ginger Prime, on the show with us, and we'll be talking about this. So we'll start with the live letter, since that'll be just coming chronologically first, and the live letter is going to start in a few hours here. That's going to be predominantly 5.5 content. So next week's show, we'll start with kind of a review of the 5.5 content, and then we'll talk about further thoughts on what we saw here tonight after having some time to digest it, compare notes with other people. I'm sure Kronos and Tark and I are going to be batting ideas in Discord for the next week on certain things. I saw this. Did you guys see this? What do you think here? It's just what happens with the nature of this. So we'll be talking more about this in depth. I'm just kind of poking the bears here to get the initial thoughts on the entire presentation. All in all, looking forward to it. PlayStation 5 upgrade being free was good. I thought it'd be a nice gesture, but I could honestly see a scenario where they didn't do it. I was hopeful that they would. They did. I like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. No 14.2. Not getting a 14.2. It's just not going to happen at this point.
It's not happening.
Yeah, I think they basically debunked it. They didn't say it straight out, but just all the things they alluded to makes me feel like it's never going to happen.
Yeah, so Tark, you get 0 points on that one. I get 1 point on that one. And Kronos, we'll give you half a point because you said that it wasn't going to happen until another expansion or two came, but it's just not going to happen now. They're going to end this whole story in 6.0, which I think is kind of weird. It does put the raid tier in a really awkward limbo spot.
I was talking about that. Yeah, it does put it in a weird spot. You end the story, but then several weeks after the main story is done, you're going to release a raid tier to start. It's like,
yeah, and it looks ASEAN themed, which means you'd probably think Fandaniel is related to it in some way, if not as a boss, just as a story driver piece, if nothing else. But
did we confirm that Glyph is La Habreas?
No, we didn't confirm it.
But yeah, it didn't look like it. But then again, I thought Mitron was La Habreas, so it could be. Yeah, we don't know.
So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. I think it's an interesting gamble, killing the Heidelin Zodiark storyline at the end of 6.0 and then relying on your .1, .2, .3 to set up the next story, because although it is the beginning of a new story, your character is retaining its power, its level, its gear. So like if you compared the worlds of where we may be going to the world of Heidelin, the starting zones in that new world are fucking rough, man. Everything's level 90 or above versus level 1 outside of Gridania. So it just put it in a weird little position. And it does make me wonder, they're starting to erase some of the tech issues the game has, but they're going to need, a point Tark's made multiple times, they're going to need a tech debt dump at some point. And the battle system changes aren't necessarily a tech debt dump. That is actually future-proofing, not dumping historical stuff. So there's still got to be a trade-off at some point to get out of what's left over from version 1.0, what's left over from supporting PlayStation 3 as long as it did, and depending on how long they wait, supporting PlayStation 4 as long as they did.
Yeah, some sort of like WoW Cataclysm type event where they redo all the zones and something's got to change to where they got like, okay, this is a good reset point. I thought this was going to be it, and the next thing was the game, but looks like that's not the case.
Yeah, them restructuring the battle system and the numbers the way they are, Adam. I mean, that clearly spells no 2.0. We're going to keep living with what we have.
Yeah, because it would just be like work for no reason, right?
Yeah.
It's like work that you do later.
Yeah.
So
no Xbox announcement. I still think we're going to get that. I still think it's going to come from Square Enix. So I guess now I have to put my prediction on that being announced at the May festival, May Fan Fest. I don't think that comes from Microsoft. I think it's a better play to give it to Square Enix to announce. I don't know. But all in all, gang, I'm pretty impressed. I think the three of us collectively achieved like a 70-75% prediction ratio. And the ones we missed were ones that all three of us or one of us or two of us were like, I would like if they did this, but I don't think they're going to. Do you think they're going to make Blue Mage a full job instead of limited? Nope.
No.
100% nope.
I think the only area where we're probably going to end up completely whiffing is what the jobs are at this point.
Yeah.
Because,
confirm, I was just researching it. That is La Habrea's glyph. So,
I mean, it looked like it. It looked like it. Yeah, so we'll have to see where that goes. The Alliance raid has to be. I thought going into this, it was going to have to be Final Fantasy IV related, particularly once we saw the moon and then all of a sudden they were like, no, you know what? We're not doing any fucking crossover. And you know what? I put my hands up and I say, yes, please. Yes, please. Let's do one that isn't a crossover of anything. I think that's going to be awesome.
I'll say the biggest thing that kind of gets me hyped that I feel like it's going to be a letdown is the cross data center thing.
Yeah.
I just don't like the way they worded things. It makes me feel like it's not going to be what I want it to be.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to have a lot of limitations. I think that they were very specific on, you can go hang out with your friends and take pictures. And
yeah, exactly.
That was it.
And they even said it's going to have limitations, a lot of limitations, maybe as many or more limitations as the initial launch of the World Centers that you already can do. That tells me you're not going to be traveling to your friend's world at will to go fill in for their 8-person raid. You're not going to go run dungeons. My thing is, I think the limitation's just going to be surely based on instance-based content. If it's instance-based, you can't do it. If you want to go run around in the world and do leaves and take pictures, go for it. But I think if it comes to anything instance-based, whether that's Deep Dungeon, Heaven on High, 4-person, 8-person, 24-person, I think that's totally out the window. PvP, gone out the window, although that's a bit of a different beast anyway. What was the new PvP mode, by the way?
All they said was, and it's kind of something that...
it said small-scale PvP mode.
Yeah, they didn't say what it was. All they said was, and I've been kind of talking about this with some friends for a bit, because like some of us PvP from time to time. It's not like great, but the problem is like there's no in between, right? There's like a 4v4,
yep,
which is like kind of serious. I say that in like air quotes. And then there's like the big large scale, which is like sometimes those take forever to fill up depending on the time of day. And so I've always thought they needed like something like almost like a capture the flag type mode or something that's like 8v8. And I think that's going to be kind of what this is. But they didn't say what it was.
Gotcha.
They did mention something with lack of roles
Yeah,
not mattering.
they did say that. They said no role requirement. Yeah. But the Alliance thing has no role requirement right now either. Like the big, large-scale ones, there's no role
So
requirement.
you think small scale is just in reference to comparing it to Alliance rating?
Yeah, I think it's like an in-between.
Not like a 2v2 or even solo duels type thing.
Well, they have duels, but I mean that's kind of different. I mean, it's not really instance-based duel. 2v2 is possible. Maybe that's what it is. Could be.
Twos? Okay.
I mean, I
But then I
can
worry
see you not having to really require roles for twos.
I worry
Because
that
if
like
it's-
healers get OP. I worry if like one side has a healer and one doesn't. How do you kill them?
Yeah, but I think that's overcome when you're in such a small group of twos, where if you 2-on-1 a healer, the healer's wrecked.
Mhm.
The healer is wrecked. You know, it's just okay. You know, I don't know. I don't care either. But honestly,
We'll go more
I
in
would
depth next
probably
week.
try twos. If it were twos, I'd probably try that. I'll also say that Sage does get me interested in checking out healer. Again, many of you watching this know I always carry my white mage at max level and with reasonable gear, not best in slot, but reasonable gear to carry others through content when needed. But I don't, raid heal on it for fun or go do savages on it for fun. Depending on how they implement Sage, I could see me taking that to max level and maybe doing a little something with it. It has me interested, but I haven't seen enough to say, yeah, I'm definitely playing or that or not. But Tark, during the show, you said, right, unequivocally, we saw 3 abilities. We don't know what they did. And you're like, I'm changing. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm putting my book away.
I'm tired. I'm just tired of the books. You can't do much with the books. With these, you can look, and it's going to be in the battlefield, so people are going to see your weapon doing the things.
People see your book. We see you standing there reading like a fucking idiot.
Exactly.
Everybody else is fighting this 10-ton gorilla in the room, and you're reading your little tome.
So yeah, I'm going to be switching over. I can't imagine that's going to be terribly different from what Scholar is going to be,
Right.
especially now that they're making a clear line, barrier versus pure.
Yep. On the other side of this, Adam, you were like, yeah, no, I'll level it, but it's still white mage for me.
Yeah, I'm sad because I want a chemist, but I mean that doesn't make me like the expansion any less. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. It looks cool, I guess, but I'll level it because I level every class, but I don't see myself switching unless something in the job extra trailer or something really like sparks me for that. So,
any final thoughts on the presentation, gents?
You think they'll give them some RDPS stuff like Astro?
I don't know. It's hard to say. They need to be careful with that because then you would just stack Astro and that together, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you have to be, they'll probably have some kind of buff, I bet, maybe, but I don't know what it's going to be. No one knows. So
thoughts on the stat squish?
I'm glad they're doing it.
I
think it needed it.
They had to. Like I said, when they were showing it, I was amazed it didn't happen with the launch of Shadowlands. Shadowbringers.
Too many shadows.
Yeah, I'm amazed it didn't happen with the launch of Shadowbringers, to be perfectly honest with you. They were starting to get out of control at the end of Stormblood. And programmatically, yeah, it's unless they were going to do a 14-2, they needed to do this. So yeah. I'm all in favor of it. I understand, just like you do and anybody watching us does, that yes, your DPS numbers get smaller, but comparison power to power, you are still percentage-wise the same power you were previously. I'm glad they recognized that does the way they're doing it. Post 50 does create scaling issues for going back into older content. I wish they would have talked about what they're planning to do to fix that, because they did address that. And pre-show, we talked about solo content in Final Fantasy XIV. A big piece of that is going and unsyncing and, doing lower level stuff, whether it's to pony farm, whether it's to just go do it to have fun or to take pictures or to, whatever you're going to do it with. That does make that stuff harder to do. So I wish they would have talked a little more about that. I'm sure we'll hear more about that. It's not sexy to talk about, so I get why they kind of went as far as they could in this presentation with it without boring the shit out of you. It's a boring discussion. It's not for me because I'm a software engineer and I love, oh, that's great. Oh, yeah, well, here's how I would do it, But it's not sexy to talk about in this type of thing, so I can't be too mad that they didn't talk about their fix. But I am curious what their fix will be because it's, in my mind, it's not exactly easy what they're trying to do here and still keep that content on a relative difficulty bar with what it is now.
I kind of got the impression that they were like, we don't quite know what we're going to do yet.
That's what scares me too, because that was the impression I got too.
We don't know how to fix that part.
They're like, we know you do that.
7 months to figure it out.
We got you. I don't know how, but we got you. All in all, I probably give the showcase itself like a 6.5, maybe a 7, 7.5. Yeah, I give it a 7. We'll put it right at a 7. We'll say 2 points of that, the missing 3 points. 2 points is just me being a fan and always wanting more. That one is that I do feel like they beat the shit out of that dead horse over and over again with, we'd like to talk about that, but we can't.
Yeah.
I do think that was used a little too much. So I guess we could score it a 9 if I was willing as a fan to say I was happy with the amount of content that was shown there. But as a fan, I'm not. So I'll put it between a 7 and an 8. What about you, Adam?
I'm right there with you. Yeah, like right around 7.5. I mean, I know like I set my bar kind of right around there, but I definitely kind of wanted more. And you always want more, right? We love the game,
no doubt.
So it's like you always want more. And I was kind of annoyed by it. Kind of pretty similar to you, honestly. Like I feel almost exactly the same.
Tark?
Feel about the same. 7.5. 5.5. They're holding these things back because of 5.5. You got to know, and also because of May, but also because of 5.5. So 5.5 better be freaking amazing.
Yeah, but I think they could have gone into a lot more without having to worry about 5.5. Like, talking about the second job doesn't need 5.5. Talking about the second Beast Tribe doesn't spoil anything for 5.5. Talking about the island certainly doesn't spoil anything for 5.5. Talking about the small,
definitely could have gotten in more on the island.
Yeah, talking about the PvP is not impacted by 5.5. Talking about the gold saucer is not impacted by 5.5.
It's Blitzball.
Yeah, it has to be Blitzball at this point. Talking about the raid tier in 6.0 or 6.1 could theoretically be impacted by 5.5 if we go with Asians and Fandaniel and all that stuff. So that, okay, fine, I get it. Talking about other zones in 6.0 is not impacted by 5.5. I think they rode that train a little hard, is all.
Yeah.
Not that I expected them to reveal all of that, but damn, did they ride that hard. We'd like to tell you more, but we can't.
Then don't tease us.
Yeah, all in all, though, and Yoshi P and the president is totally 100% scripted, but still, I grin like an 8-year-old watching it. They're both good at it. You know what? And it's not so much Yoshi P. It's the Prez. He just has like this like cherub face and just like nice guy look to him to the point where you're like, I almost believe he's accidentally giving some of this stuff out. Where he's like, oh yeah, that comes out the same day as 5.5.
Wasn't he the one that came out in all blue?
I think he's
the one that spoiled it, quote unquote.
What? The Blue Mage?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, and then he was showing drawings at one live letter that he wasn't supposed to be showing, showing concept art and things. So yeah, well, there we go. I hope, chat, you enjoyed hanging out with us on this one. We still got a couple hours before the live letter, so I don't think we're gonna hang on and stream that. We'll bring that to Wednesday's show. I really don't want to be like, hey guys, let's reconvene in 2 hours.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so I think we'll forego streaming live reaction to that one. You can catch our reactions to the live letter next Wednesday for the Relic Grind at 7 p.m. Eastern. Same time, just a day earlier. And like I said, special guest Ginger Prime on that show with us. With that, gentlemen,
I really want
to
talk to Brian about the technical debt thing. He's on the same wavelength as me, so
yeah, there we go. Hope you had fun. We had a blast. Great announcement showcase. I can't wait for fall 2021. Got to polish off that last Beast Tribe. I still have one left that I got a little lazy on. But that's all right. I got the mount. I just got to max the rep. On that note, gents, have a great night. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Later,
Have a
chat.
good one.